Guys, good morning, everyone. Good morning.
House for all of your podiatric needs. The best part of all is that Medicare pays for this visit. So, if you're a Medicare recipient, give the Soul Authority a call today at 954-597-7060. That's 954-597-7060. Don't let social distancing stop you from taking care of your feet. Call the Soul Authority today.
The Steve Kane Show is brought to you by Attorney Barry Siegel at the Siegel Law Group. Are you concerned with the distribution of your assets at the time of your passing? Avoid probate. Call the Siegel.
Welcome, everyone. Make sure you subscribe. I got this cool new shirt. Let me show it to you.
Call toll-free 1-855.
Don't cough on me. Pretty funny, huh? I know, it's a good shirt. My wife got it for me.
You are listening to South Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show.
Oops. Earthquake. No. Sorry, I just hit the camera. All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is Brian Craig. This is Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. It is Tuesday morning, if you can believe it already, March 31st, 2020. We are here live. It is the last day of March. Tomorrow, April Fool's Day, we begin April, which is our final days. The final days in April of, well, doing what we can do, right, to get over this. Lots going on. So much to talk about. Your calls are welcome on anything that is on your mind. I know a lot of people out there are cooped up. A lot of people out there are confused, upset, scared, angry. So this is a place for you to come and vent. So anything and everything you have on your mind, within reason, is welcome on our phones at 1-888-GO-KANE-1, 888-465-2631. You can also watch us live stream on YouTube. Just search Brian Craig on YouTube. Watch us high stream and high definition. So much going on. I talked about this on my podcast last night, but I've got more information on it. A pastor here in Florida, in Tampa, Florida, a minister, was arrested by the sheriff in Hillsborough County, which is where Tampa is, for holding church services over the weekend. We are going to talk about that because I've got some mixed feelings about it. It's a very strange thing to see in the news. And I've got some audio from that, which we're going to talk about. Mike Lindell, our buddy, the inventor of My Pillow, was at the White House yesterday and made some very, very good comments that, shocker, the liberals are upset about. They're talking about separation of church and state and have a lot of disdain. We're going to talk about that. Rachel Maddow, in one of her most embarrassing rants, being humiliated on the Twitter. So much going on. This lockdown in Virginia, which is going on for a long time. So much to get into, so much to talk about, and I almost don't know where to begin. But I think I'm going to begin with this pastor. And this pastor in Tampa, I don't know anything about this guy or his church. I did see a little bit of video of him online. He does a show either from his office or his home that live streams, and I don't know anything about him. For all I know, he could be just your average next door preacher man, or he could be a Fred Phelps type. I know nothing about this Tampa pastor who was arrested for holding church services. So I don't want to endorse or defend him personally. I'm just telling you the idea that a minister of a church was arrested by the sheriff. He did bail out, but arrested by the sheriff for holding church services is something I've never heard in this country before. And, a couple weeks ago when this first started, we talked about how so many liberties were being taken away without any legislation, without any discussion, without any debate. And this is a big one. This is a big one. And let me play. I got some audio here. Hold on. I've got the local news. Let me play the local news first. Let me see if I can find this. And then I have the sheriff made some comments. Let me play. Let me find. I know I got the audio from the church. Hold on. Let's see here. Chris Cuomo Fredo on Trump. Chris Hayes attacks Mike Lindell. See, I've got lots of audio sound bites here. Let me just go through them. The Hillsborough County Sheriff. Okay, here it is. Local news. Okay. Those little dings, those were me deleting some sound bites from yesterday's show. Okay, this is the local news in Tampa, Florida, talking about the story, which will give you a little background. So let me play this first so you can hear, and then we'll get more into it. Here we go.
Mel, good evening. A viewer who hasn't been affiliated with the River at Tampa Bay Church for more than a decade reached out to Aid on Your Side. He says his former pastor is crossing the line by allowing the large group to congregate together. Tonight, deputies say the church leaders are in direct violation of the president's guidelines, CDC recommendations, and orders from the governor and Hillsborough County. Car after car pulled into the River at Tampa Bay Church parking lot tonight. Church leaders kept their doors open for worship after Hillsborough County deputies contacted them regarding the large crowd at the Sunday morning service. Pastor Ronnie Howard Brown defended that decision in a Facebook Live post titled End of Days Part 3.
So I'm not, again, negating that people are dying from the coronavirus. We're not saying that. We're just saying that the thing is blown totally way out of proportion. And if you shut the church down, the church is not a non-essential service.
In a statement to the press from March 18th, the church posted it will do everything in our power to support the efforts of our wider community by cleaning and sanitizing surfaces and take any other recommended measures to protect our people and keep them healthy and safe. Here at the road leading to the church, deputies have put up this sign that says, practice social distancing, stay 6 feet apart, maximum 10 people per room. Tonight, the sheriff's office says it has advised church leaders of the danger they are putting themselves and their congregation in by not maintaining a social distancing at a time when COVID-19 cases are unfortunately still on the rise in Hillsborough County.
Our outreach is to the whole world.
Vicki Walker is the Minister of Missions and Outreach at Hyde Park United Methodist. Her church is one of the many religious institutions holding prayer services online during the pandemic.
God gave us brains and we're invited to use them, and it's an act of faith and good conscience for Christians to worship together online, not in public.
And the Hillsborough County Safer at Home order and an executive order from the governor limit faith gatherings to less than 10 people. And now the sheriff's office says its attorneys are talking with attorneys for that church to come up with a resolution to, quote, keep the public safe under these extraordinary conditions.
Okay, now that local news story in Tampa was prior to the arrest. So you can see this. He didn't just have the service and they came in and busted him. There was a lot of discussion and build-up. And, again, I want to be careful, and I think a lot of people should be careful. We don't know anything about this pastor, and we don't know anything about this church. Okay, so we want to be careful not to endorse him. And I say we as in you. You got to be very careful because you don't know anything about this guy. Okay, we know nothing about him. So he could be just a normal, great local preacher, or he could be a lunatic who's got all kinds of weirdness connected to him. But what we're talking about is a pastor being arrested. If this pastor were black and it was a black church, do you think the sheriff, who, by the way, is white in Hillsborough County, do you think he would have arrested a black pastor? What if this was a mosque? Would they have arrested an imam? I don't know. Now, let me play a couple clips. I've got two cuts here. This is the sheriff of Hillsborough County who ordered the arrest, who obtained the warrant to arrest a pastor.
Nothing more important than faith during a time like this. And as a sheriff's office, we would never impede someone's ability to lean on their religious beliefs as a means of comfort. But practicing those beliefs has to be done safely. Last night I made a decision to seek an arrest warrant for the pastor of a local church who intentionally and repeatedly chose to disregard the orders set in place by our president, our governor, the CDC, and the Hillsborough County Emergency Policy Group. His reckless disregard for human life put hundreds of people in his congregation at risk, and thousands of residents who may interact with them this week in danger. Since last Friday, March 27th, the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office has been in contact with leaders at the River of Tampa Bay Church. We received an anonymous tip that Pastor Dr. Ronald Howard Brown refused request to temporarily stop holding large gatherings at his church. And instead, he was encouraging his large congregation to meet at his church.
Okay, so that's the sheriff that got the warrant and had the pastor arrested. Now, I'll tell you how I feel about this. One, I agree that church services in person should not be taking place right now unless there's a handful of people in there spread apart. I don't think it's a smart idea. I would not go to Mass right now. Okay, so I don't know if I'll ever take Holy Communion again. I don't know how I'm going to deal with that when things get back to normal soon. But I did see several stories yesterday of pastors having church services like it was a normal Sunday. The ones I saw yesterday, I saw this in the afternoon yesterday, but the stories I saw yesterday were black pastors. And I don't see a sheriff going in and arresting a black pastor for holding church services. I also don't see them arresting a rabbi. I also don't see them arresting an imam for having services. You know, when you're a white guy and a Christian, you don't have, you know what I mean. It's a little easier for them to do, especially when the sheriff is white. And I do agree with a lot of what the sheriff said. And it seemed that they had a pretty packed house, and this pastor may have had multiple services. It may not have even been just one. It may have been multiple services on Sunday. Not only in this situation are these people risking themselves and possibly their children, if they have children or brought children, I'm sure there are children involved here, but they're also risking exposing how many other people? So there is a public health issue in regards to this. However, with all that being said, I believe that the sheriff went way the hell over the line. Way the hell over the line. And what I would say the sheriff should do, or should have done, don't you wish we lived in the world of should? If we lived in the world of should, wouldn't things be so much easier? All that 20/20 hindsight and everything, but we don't live in the world of should, and 20/20 hindsight, you know how that goes. But what I would have liked to have seen the sheriff do, and there was a big buildup before this happened. So this Hillsborough County sheriff, I don't know anything about him either, but he seems to be a bit incompetent to me. What would have been the move is prior to services happening on Sunday, go in there Saturday night and block off the roads into the church. You know, the sheriff knew that this guy was going to have church services. He had attorneys talking to the church attorneys. They should have gone in there late Sunday night, blocked off the roads going to the church with deputies, blocked off the parking lot with deputies, and padlocked the doors. Okay? That's what they should have done. Not wait for them to have the service. God knows how many people went to these services. I'm sure we'll know soon enough. And then go and arrest a pastor. So, yeah, the pastor did something very stupid. But you know what? So did the sheriff. But but also in America, you know, you're talking about the Bill of Rights here. Talk about the Bill of Rights, and for the life of me, during all of the controversies and things that have happened in this country, can anyone share with me an example of a pastor being arrested for holding church services? I don't want to hear Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King was arrested for demonstrations. That's a different thing. I'm talking about for actually holding a worship service in their church. This may be a first in America, and it's one of the stated reasons that we had a revolution. Freedom of religion. I know liberals think it says freedom from religion. It's freedom of religion, and your religion may be Be atheist. I don't know. My religion is Christianity, but freedom of religion is one of the primary reasons that we separated from Great Britain. And this is very scary territory. Now, I also got a big problem up there in Tampa, which thankfully is about a 5-hour drive from where I'm sitting here in Florida. Thank the Lord, it's on the other side of the state, on the Gulf Coast. But I haven't been to Tampa in years. I hate Tampa. I've had a lot of good times in Tampa. When I was younger, I used to visit Tampa a lot and had a lot of good times in Tampa, but it's not my favorite city. And especially that Skyway Bridge over there scares the hell out of me. But anyway, the sheriff made some very stupid moves here, but now we have all these people that went to that church who did what? They went back home, and what have they been doing? Have they been socializing in the Tampa area, going to stores and things like this? I would say that like is being done with those who travel into Florida from New York, the people from that church and their families need to be isolated. I know these are scary times, but they knew what they were doing when they went there. They knew when they went to the church service that they were doing things. They should be isolated for however long. What is it, 12 days until you show? I don't know. However long the medical experts say it takes to show symptoms, they should be isolated for that period of time and a few more days at least. But this sheriff on his high horse, he screwed up. He knew the guy was going to have the services, and he could have made moves to stop it. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. Should pastors who have church services be arrested? I mean, that's the primary issue here. And would he have been arrested if he was a black pastor, a rabbi? Some people say Jewish rabbi. Is there another kind of rabbi? I love when people say Jewish rabbi. How many times you heard that? It cracks me up. Is there another type of rabbi? I thought they were all Jewish. So would they have arrested a black pastor, a rabbi, or an imam? I would say no. And if they did, oh my goodness. So your thoughts on this story certainly are welcome. 1-888-GO-CANE-1. It's a toll-free call. 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. We'll be right back after this. Don't go anywhere.
This is Steve Kane with a special offer from Any Lab Test Now of Coral Springs and Any Lab Test Now of Boca for the remainder of the month of March. The basic checkup panel, which consists of the most important lab tests that are essential to your maintaining good health, are available for Steve Kane listeners for the incredibly low price, just $99, normally $129, but for the month of March and only for Steve Kane listeners, $30 off, just $99 for Steve Kane listeners only. That is just for the month of March.
That's right, Steve. It's a huge savings. The basic checkup panel includes a CBC, which checks for conditions that affect blood cells, like anemia, infection, inflammation, bleeding disorder, and even cancer. A CMP that checks the current status of your kidneys and liver, as well as electrolyte and acid-base balance, and levels of blood glucose and blood proteins. A total cholesterol test with triglycerides. Oh yeah, this is an awesome shirt. I just got this. My wife got it for me. It came in the mail yesterday. Don't cough on me. Isn't that hilarious? I know. I wish I'd have thought of that.
Urinary tract infections. Now this deal is just for the month of March. You get all that for just $99. It's usually $129, but just $99 for the month of March. Any Lab Test Now of Coral Springs is located on the southeast corner of University and Ramblewood, near the Coral Square Mall. Any Lab Test Now of Boca is on 441 between Palmetto and Hillsborough in the Sandalfoot Plaza, where the Western Beef is.
If you have any questions, just call 954-906-5983. That's 954-906-5983. Tell them Stephen Bryan sent you.
Hi, this is George Corey of the Soul Authority. In this time of social distancing and sheltering in place, many people have been forced to neglect their feet. We at the Soul Authority are making it possible for
the
you
thing
to
is,
take
Chuck,
care of your feet while
because the
remaining
sheriff
at
didn't
home,
lock
as
it
we
down,
will
all
send a
those people
doctor
went
to
and
your house
congregated
for all
together.
your podiatric needs.
You know what I
The
mean?
best part of all is that Medicare pays for this visit.
If he thinks it's a
So,
public
if you're
health
a
risk, he
Medicare
should have stopped it
recipient,
from
give the
happening.
Soul
You
Authority
just
a
go
call
in there
today
about
at
midnight, 2 in the morning, and lock down the area.
954-597-7060. That's 954-597-7060. Don't let social distancing stop you from taking care of your feet. Call the Soul Authority today.
Listen to the Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio. Just search.
Oh yeah. Now the Soul Authority with house calls. The Soul Authority has always offered house calls. We haven't talked about them so much, but yeah, the Soul Authority. And by the way, no matter where you are in our listening area, call the Soul Authority, and they do house calls, and for all podiatry needs. In fact, if you just need, I'll tell you, because I know the ladies out there, the nail salons are not, most everything is open in South Florida. A handful of things are not. One of the things that are not open are nail salons. So if if you need your nails trimmed, call the Soul Authority. If you're a Medicare recipient, Medicare covers the cost. The doctor, she will come out to you. She'll take care of your nails and all of your podiatry needs. And that goes, by the way, for existing patients. If you're an existing patient of the Soul Authority, and I know a lot of you go in, like Steve did yesterday, for your monthly follow-up and monthly treatments, call up the Soul Authority, and the doctor, she will come out to you. Not just existing patients, new patients, for everything that involves podiatry, including, by the way, the diabetic therapeutic shoes. So give the Soul Authority a call, no matter where you are within our radio station's listening area. They can help you. They have this number is for the Tamarack office, which is their headquarters. The number 954-721-3411. That's right, they do house calls. They've always done house calls. We just haven't, talked about it so much. The number listed at stevekaneshow.com for the Soul Authority, 954-721-3411. All right. I know, isn't that amazing? I know, it's pretty cool, isn't it? All right, welcome back, everyone. Yeah, so we're talking about this pastor in Tampa arrested for holding church services. A couple things about this. Somebody in the YouTube live chat room during the break said, well, wait a minute, aren't the parishioners just as guilty? They went and they congregated together. Absolutely. So if you're going to arrest the pastor for having the services, what about the parishioners? And you know what? What about the people that work at the church that open the church up? People get there, they open the church up, there's sound people, there's lighting people. They have church security, all that stuff. What about, and the congregants, the congregation? How many of these people are guilty of crimes against the community, I guess, according to the sheriff of Hillsborough County, Florida? Oh, man, I know. Where does this go? And, so far as the sheriff, the sheriff has a lot of responsibility here because he knew the service was going to happen. He could have prevented this. The congregation got together and congregated. And if the sheriff would have gone in there with deputies at midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning, Saturday night, and and blocked off the roads going to the church, padlocked the doors, blocked off the park and everything else, these people would not have been able to congregate. So there is some responsibility on the sheriff because he knew this was going to happen on Sunday morning. All right, your thoughts on that are definitely welcome at 1-888-GO-KANE-1. 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. A toll-free call, no matter where you're listening. The pastor is not a good guy here. I don't know anything about him. I don't know if he's a fringe lunatic. I don't know if he's just your normal next-door pastor. He sounds like a lunatic to me to do something like this. What he did was irresponsible. It was selfish. And I think very self-serving, too. To me, they at least had a few days of build-up with the lawyers talking. He's making videos online. And in that news story I played from the local news in Tampa, he's got some type of studio in his office. I don't know if that was at home or his church office with a very nice microphone. Gosh, what is that microphone? It's a microphone I've always wanted. I can't remember the name of the microphone. I can't remember. It's the same microphone that Michael Jackson recorded Thriller in. I can't remember the name of that microphone. It's like a mic that I've always wanted, but I've never had. I've had the same mic for 22 years. This mic I'm using, I bought this mic in 1998. And here we are in 2020, and I'm still using it. These mics are a lot less money now than they used to be back in 1998. It's less money now than it was in 98, but they're still very popular. But anyway, forgetting about I love microphones. I have a bunch of them. But anyway, this pastor kind of was, not kind of, he was. There was a build-up throughout the week last week. It was almost like daring him to do it, you know, and it became kind of an ego contest. And what he did was more about himself than anything else. Very self-serving. And his congregation, if I went to that church, I would stop going. There was an incident where I stopped going to a church. This was when my daughter was very young. We went to, Mr. Microphone. I had a Mr. Microphone. Did anybody have a Mr. Microphone? You had a little wire that came out of it, and you could listen to it over your stereo. We had one of those. We had a hi-fi stereo, and I could talk into my microphone, and you could hear me in hi-fi at home. Hi-fi. Anybody remember hi-fi? Oh my goodness. I was a little kid during the era of 8-tracks and hi-fi. Okay, but I remember it. Mr. Microphone. Yeah. I bet I could still buy one on eBay or Amazon or something. But anyway, back to what we're talking about here, the primary issue we're talking about, which is this lunatic pastor in Tampa, Florida. There was one church, my wife and I, when my daughter was very young, when we moved and we were looking for a new church, we found a church that we really liked, and we were going there for a little while, and then I found out in the newspaper that the youth pastor had been arrested in a North Carolina men's room soliciting sex from a police officer. So we stopped going to that church. Not the denomination, but we stopped going to that particular church because, he was the youth minister, okay? And we didn't really think it was smart to have our daughter involved in youth. I mean, they did get rid of him, but I was thinking to myself, I don't know, that's a very strange thing, and you wonder, is there a cell of these guys at the church? And we didn't feel safe. We got out of there. If I went to this Tampa Bay church, I would be out of there. And not only would I be out of there, if any of my friends went to the services on Sunday in the current climate, I would stop being friends with those people. Everything about it is total insanity to me. Total insanity. But we do have the freedom of religion in this country. So there is a conflict and there is an issue there. All right, listen, I'm going to take our break here for the bottom of the hour. When we get back, I'm going to jump into some other issues. If you have some thoughts on this Tampa pastor, I certainly would welcome them at 1-888-GO-CANE1. 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. All right, let's take our break. We'll be back right after this.
We are chatting today with Frank, the owner of two magnificent Ace Hardware stores. One, Deerfield Beach, 365
Creepers,
South Federal
Trolls.
Highway, about a quarter of a mile south of Hillsborough on the west side of Federal Highway. And the other, Beach Ace Hardware, located at 232 Commercial Boulevard, half a block west of A1A in Lauderdale by the sea. But how many years have you owned this business?
Well, thank you, Jack.
I've been in the hardware business for over 40 years, Steve.
If I have a home project that I'm doing, there are so many around the house, that's the big thing today. What's the difference of my experience if I go to Ace Hardware as opposed to these major impersonal chain stores?
Oh, there's a huge difference. The basic difference is customer service. We're an old-time fashion hardware store. We have experienced people that are working our stores. Our employees are just top-notch. They're very experienced. They know their business. When you're doing a project, you can come into the store and you can get somebody that knows what they're doing, somebody that will like to work with you. They'll find you the right project, the right pieces, the first time, so you can get in and out with the right material.
There are lots of Ace Hardware stores, but
there's no bigger fan of Trump than me. No one. I'm Trump's biggest fan. I think I'm pretty confident in that.
South of Hillsborough Boulevard on the west side of Federal, and of course the Beach Ace Hardware, located at 232 Commercial Boulevard, a half block west of A1A in Lauderdale by the sea. Very, very special locations. Be sure to mention Steve Kane sent you.
Stop paying an outrageous fortune for your tires. Go easy on your budget and buy your tires at Friendly Tire.
You must be new to the show then.
Where they have all the major brands like Goodyear and Firestone at discount prices that absolutely can't be beaten. Steve Kane's tires for his Toyota van. At the other shops, $175 a tire. At Friendly Tire, just $75 a tire. That's a $100 savings per tire. Tires for my daughter Emily's car, $135 at the shops around town. The price at Friendly Tire, only $65. That's a $70 savings per tire. These prices are out the door and on the road. Free mounting and balancing and no added charges. Friendly Tire have a great selection of good used tires too, starting at just $30 for most cars. Call my good buddy Friendly Mike at Friendly Tire. Tell him what you drive and he will give you a great low price right over the phone. 954-977-9445. 954-977-9445. Online, friendlytire.net.
The Steve Kane Show is brought to you by attorney Barry Siegel at the Siegel Law Group. Avoid probate with a revocable living trust. $350 for single people, $450 for married couples. When you complete your trust with attorney Barry Siegel, he will give you a $100 certificate.
Sometimes maybe Steve and I will have a conversation during the break, and I'll forget that the camera's on, and I don't want to have that conversation on YouTube forever or something. That's the most common reason if I don't keep a video up and I take it off.
Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio. Just search for WWNN.
All right, welcome back. I'm Brian Craig. You are listening to the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest running radio show. Someone in the chat room on YouTube Live said, hey, Brian, sometimes you take a video off. You don't keep a video up. Why do you do that? And I want to tell you guys why. And you should watch live. You know, sometimes I remember the Real World, the Real World on MTV. Yeah, I know. I've had a lot. The Real World is so bittersweet to me because I was almost cast on the Miami Real World, and I got callbacks and everything, and didn't make it. And so I've always, I get upset. I won't tell my Real World casting story. It was very disappointing, very disappointing. But anyway, remember the Real World? They used to say, "Watch what happens. It gets real when they forget the cameras are on." And sometimes Steve and I will have a conversation during a commercial break, and we'll forget that the cameras are on. And it's nothing bad. I mean, we don't have bad conversations, but sometimes we'll have a conversation that I don't want on YouTube forever, right? So the most common reason, if there's a video that's deleted, the most common reason would be that we had a conversation that I just, don't think everybody should have forever to so, but if you watch live, you catch everything. It gets real. We forget the cameras are on. It happens all the time. It happens all the time, especially when I'm live streaming. I live stream over my iPhone 11 Pro, which is the best electronic purchase I tell you I've ever made. I love this iPhone 11 Pro. If you were on the cruise with us, if you didn't see me without my iPhone 11 Pro, I just gotten it right before the cruise. But I take it everywhere, and I'm seeing myself on the phone screen, watching the chat room while we're on the air. And even though I'm watching myself, I forget that people are watching and I'm live streaming. You forget sometimes because it's on so much. So that's the most common reason why a video may be deleted. Yeah. All right, welcome back, everyone. Again, my name's Brian. This is the Steve Kane Show. Man, was Mike Lindell of MyPillow great yesterday at the White House. That was just spectacular. I love Mike Lindell. He's amazing. I have his book at home, and it's an amazing book and an amazing story. He's a man who he suffered from addiction, and now look at him, right? And now he's making masks. He hopes by Friday to be making $50,000 a day for healthcare workers. And the bit of a delay, because I follow Mike Lindell on Twitter, and you should too. He had a little bit of delay in getting the elastic that they needed for the mask, and someone told me, I didn't see this, but someone told me that Mike Lindell said, I don't have a confirmation of this, but it sounds like something he would say, that his mask is the most comfortable mask you'll ever wear. That's right. I hope he offers the MyPillow masks for sale at the website. I'd like to buy some, But Mike Lindell, he went up there, again, because the president had just an incredible press conference yesterday. And he did what he did the day before and what he does all the time. He brings up leaders of industry, and it's like he's John Galt, bringing up all the masters of industry. He's wrangled them all up, and he always has corporate executives, and they're the ones who are doing what has to get done to get us through this crisis. And it's awesome. It's great. And Mike Lindell was there yesterday talking about all the safety masks. And then he started saying some things that I think, when I heard them, I didn't really think they were controversial. I guess everything's perspective, but you have liberals out there. This is Mike Lindell at the end of his talk. And I like how Mike Lindell is like just a regular guy. Did you notice, he had his notes like written down on a little piece of paper that was all messed up and crinkled from being folded in his pocket, like he just wrote down. It was pretty cool. So Mike Lindell, he talked about what MyPillow is doing, which is amazing. MyPillow has dedicated 75% of their production to making masks for healthcare workers. And again, the most comfortable mask you'll ever wear. And I hope they're available for purchase. But anyway, after he went through that, he talked about this. Listen, this is Mike Lindell at the White House yesterday.
I wrote something off the cuff, if I can read it. God gave us grace on November 8, 2016 to change the course we were on. God had been taken out of our schools and lives. A nation had turned its back on God. And I encourage you to use this time at home to get back in the Word, read our Bibles, and spend time with our families. Our president gave us so much hope where just a few short months ago, we had the best economy, the lowest unemployment, and wages going up. It was amazing. With our great president, vice president, and this administration, and all the great people in this country praying daily, we will get through this and get back to a place that's stronger and safer than ever.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Please come on up. I did not know he was going to do that, but he's a friend of mine, and I do appreciate it.
Yeah, that was absolutely amazing. And, I remember when there was prayer in school, and I remember when it was being taken away. And not only do I remember prayer in school, it was common when I was in elementary school. And about the time I was in 5th or 6th grade is when they got it out of schools. They got the Bible, they got prayer. And I can remember more than one occasion praying in school, praying at football games. When I was very young, my cousin, who's sadly passed away a couple years ago, was a local football quarterback. And I used to go to all of his games. And they did a prayer before every game, and everybody stood up, and we did the prayer. And we even did prayers on occasion in school. And there was one incident in particular. This was in Florida. My first year of school in Florida. These two guys went, I've told this story on the air before, but I was thinking about it with Mike Lindell. These two guys, they looked very old. I remember them being old guys, but they were probably younger than I am today now, because I was in 5th grade. So how old are you, 11? And they spent the day, they went to every classroom in the school during class and offered to give anyone who wanted it a pocket copy of the New Testament, red letter version. It wasn't even the complete Bible. It was just the New Testament pocket Bible. And they had a box, and they had them. And they didn't come in and preach or anything. But they came in, and they said who they were, and that they have these New Testament pocket Bibles there. And they said, raise your hand if you want a copy. And they said, only raise your hand if you really want it. And of course, I don't remember anyone not raising their hand, and they gave us all these pocket Bibles. I wish I still had it. It was the red letter version, and it was also had a red cover on it. And it was pretty big. It hardly fit in my pocket, but I was really little then, so it's probably very tiny. I wish I still had that. I don't know what happened to it, but whatever. But they went to every classroom in my elementary school that day, giving out free copies of pocket Bibles. Can you imagine if that happened today? Oh my goodness, they'd put those guys in jail with that Tampa pastor. And I remember it was now as a kid, this is back when Reagan was president, I was a little kid, but I remember it was a controversy, and I remember seeing bumper stickers on people's cars, and I think I remember it because my grandfather had one on his car. And it said, let our children pray, and then it had like clasp hands like you're praying on the bumpers. Does anybody remember any of this controversy and these types of bumper stickers and the controversy? And the left, yeah, they took prayer out of school. And it's a sad thing. And I know, not everyone's a Christian, but typically prayers Now, this experience I had with it, and I'm sounded like a liberal. It's an incident of handing out the New Testaments. Now, that's Christian, but my recollection with all the prayers that we ever had in school, which the football games, there was a. Now, this one was when I was a little older, 7th grade. I remember when they had the barracks bombing in Beirut. I remember the principal coming on and having a moment of silence, and I do think there was a prayer with that. But the prayers that I remember in school were always generic. They weren't prayers to Jesus. They were prayers to God. And most everyone's praying to the same God, no matter what their religion is or denominations and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it is true. They took God out of the public schools, and they've taken God out of the public square, and they've taken 10 Commandments down from here and down from there. And, and what Mike Lindell said was right on the money. And I didn't think it was too controversial because, I turned the news off after the president's press conference, which I recommend everyone does. All they're going to do is spend. CNN cut away from Mike Lindell. Blitzer was on. They cut away. Yeah, prayer at lunch. That seems familiar too. Prayer at lunch. I can't swear to that one, but that does seem familiar as well, the prayer at lunch. Well, anyway, Chris Hayes, who's a real piece of work over on MSNBC, or as Trump calls them, MSDNC. Or sometimes I call them MS13BC. We got all kinds of names for MSNBC. They're all good. Chris Hayes, what he said about Mike Lindell, let me play this. He had a guest on. The first voice you hear is the guest, and then Chris Hayes comes on. He's the primetime guy at MSNBC. And listen to the tone that Chris Hayes has at the end about Mike Lindell, our great My Pillow guy. Listen to this.
Because he does lie, and you can catch him in those lies and hold him accountable, but that doesn't
This is the guest.
effective public health response. Yeah, that's why he's bragging about the ratings. It's obviously above my pay grade. I don't make the call that we take them or not, but it seems crazy to me that everyone's still taking them when you got the My Pillow guy getting up there talking about reading the Bible.
Wow, did you hear how he says it at the end? The way he says it at the end is just really, you can hear the tone. Let me play the end. Chris Hayes. Oh, no, that's Cuomo. Hold on, where's Chris Hayes?
Everyone's still taking them when you got the My Pillow guy getting up there talking about reading the Bible.
The My Pillow guy up there talking about reading the Bible. What a jerk, Chris Hayes. How arrogant. How, that's bigotry. That's religious bigotry. That is textbook religious bigotry. And liberals don't see their bigotry. They think they're tolerant. They're so tolerant they can't tolerate those who are different than them or believe differently than they are. Here he is, a New York City guy. I don't know where he's bunkered down at up in the New York City area, but when he was new on MSNBC, they had this fake promo of Chris Hayes. This was before he was primetime. He was on during the day. And they used to show him riding his bicycle to work through the streets of New York, like Quicksilver. Anyone remember Quicksilver? Who was Quicksilver? Anyone remember? Kevin Bacon. That's right. Yeah, they had him riding his bicycle to work at the MSNBC studios like Quicksilver. And it was about promoting their green crap. And I used to talk about it at the time. I don't believe he rode his bike to school every day because he was so white and pasty that he should be getting a tan on the way into the studios every day. He looks like Casper the Ghost. He's like a saltine cracker over there. He's whiter than me. And I'm pretty white. I just got a little bit of sun. But, so Chris Hayes, he lives in New York. And what's going on in the city right now, by all reports, is god-awful. To attack a guy who is praying and asking people to look to the Bible with your religious bigotry, Chris Hayes, is disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And I'm here to tell you that if that wasn't Mike Lindell, but was someone of anyone else with any other religion. Now, Judaism, I believe Christianity is Judaism. But if it was a religion other than one that I believe in, which is Judaism, Christianity, I wouldn't talk about them like that. If they're praying to God or whatever God they worship to help us through this through this terrible time and help the people of New York get through this, I wouldn't attack them for that, but Chris Hayes does. This, of course, is the tolerant left, and I have never seen such religious bigotry on one of the major news outlets before by one of the primetime employees. You know, Fox Business just fired Trish Regan. Just fired Trish Regan for some comments she made. How many, Judge Jeanine was taken off the air for making some religious comments, which were deemed anti-religious comments. What penalty is there for Chris Hayes? They'll probably expand his show and give him some special on the weekend to cover the situation. That'll be his punishment. See, liberals have a license to be bigots and hate and attack religion and attack people and attack groups. And his tone at the end of that, Chris Hayes, is disgusting. The way he says it at the end, just the arrogance of the left. Listen.
Everyone's still taking them when you got the MyPillow guy getting up there talking about reading the Bible.
Wow. Mike Lindell's up there talking about love for fellow man, love for fellow Americans, helping Americans get through this. And what do you have from Chris Hayes? Venom. And it's not just Chris Hayes. If you go on the Twitter, go look and see what people are saying on the Twitter. I was looking at that and I was going to share some of it, but I'm not going to do it. You can go and look at it on your own. I could go, it's disgusting, the tolerant left and what they're saying about Mike Lindell. It really, truly is. But I'll tell you, support Mike Lindell. At the same time, you're supporting the Steve Kane Show. And purchase as many MyPillow products as you can. Because, Mike Lindell is under attack, which is fine. He doesn't mind. I'm sure Mike Lindell knew what the left would do at his comments. But go to MyPillow.com, click that radio listener special section. Use the promo code Kane. There's all kinds of deals up there. Use the promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. I'll go over just a couple of them. Of course, there's the incredible buy one MyPillow, get one for free, including free shipping when you use the promo code Kane. This incredible deal on the MyPillow mattress, $400 off when you use the promo code Kane, Kane, on the MyPillow mattress. There's a lot of other specials up there too, and you can go check them out. Just click the radio listener specials. Make sure you use the promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. If you want to order by phone, you can do that as well. The number 1-800-716-4879. 1-800-716-4879. And use the promo code Kane when you call. Spell it out for the person on the phone, Kane. All right, let's take our break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Because we talk about charisma. Hormone replacement pellet therapy brings back a lot of things in people. And one of the things I think it brings back is charisma, because I've met many listeners that are patients of Dr. Matez that I've met before they were patients of Dr. Matez. And I notice a big difference. And one thing I notice is a lot of confidence in guys after they start hormone replacement pellet therapy.
I agree with you 100%, Rod.
Yeah, yeah.
Get your mojo back. It's really
It changes your life. It changes the way you view the world. You know how I put it once? This was years and years ago. Looking at the world after having the hormone therapy, and you look at the world, and the world is like a Technicolor. And when you give up the hormone therapy, it's like watching the world in black and white. It's just an amazing difference.
That's a fantastic analogy.
Isn't it?
It is.
It's true. That's a big difference.
It is. As we get older, we both physically and mentally break down, and we tend to get into a very black and white type of existence, a lot of people. Everybody's different. But when you get your hormone levels back and you get that vigor back, you feel good. Suddenly things are very bright and colorful.
And I experience this myself, and I see it on listeners, is I'll see a guy, and he's like, and then I'll see him after he has become a patient of yours, and with hormone replacement pellet therapy, he seems like he's standing up strong, confident, 10 feet tall. What is it about hormone replacement pellet therapy that does that to guys?
I believe it's because you're putting God's nectar back into the body, basically. God gave us testosterone in particular to give us energy and strength and endurance and muscle mass. It's what makes not just men, it's what makes people. And a lack of it takes all of those things away from you.
We'll meet with Steve Kane listeners at no charge.
Always.
What is the number they can call to make that appointment?
561-953-5449.
561-953-5490.
Listen to The Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio. Just search for WWN.
Yeah, and don't forget, Dr. Battez, free consultation for Steve Kane listeners when you call. All right, welcome back, everyone. Yeah, I tell you, it's getting crazy out there. It really is with what, and what you see, with the left. No matter what is going on in America, the left just can't come together as Americans and handle things in a decent way. The way that Chris Hayes on MSNBC behaved to Mike Lindell, let me tell you something. It took a lot of guts for Mike Lindell to get up there and do that. Because he wasn't there for that. He didn't know what the reaction would be from the White House or the president himself. I've seen a lot of these other business guys. None of them have done that. And, when you go out and talk about your religion, no matter what your religion is, people are going to go after you. I will tell you personally, I have probably prayed in the last 2 weeks more than I've ever prayed in my life. And I don't pray in public. I don't, I pray by myself mostly, And I'll tell you what I've been praying for more than anything in particular. I mean, I'm praying about a lot of things, but one thing I've been praying for a lot is that malaria drug and the Z-Pak to work and be shown to work. I've been praying for that a lot because it's such a cheap medication that is so readily available that it's something that everyone could get. And that's what I've been praying for, I think, more than anything in the last couple of weeks. And when I'm online, I'm always looking for stories about it. I mean, that's the thing I'm praying for and hoping for more than anything. I read an article over the weekend that in China, they didn't have, and I've been trying to find this in this country. I've not been able to find anything in this country about it too much, but I would like to find out, are there any lupus patients who have developed coronavirus? Because I have heard in an article that there was not a single one in China, and I read something a couple of weeks back when this drug was first being discussed. I read something a week or maybe two ago that was from a doctor talking about how, you know what, I think it was somebody on social media that's friends with my wife, come to think of it, has lupus and takes these drugs, or at least the one drug for their lupus, the first one, the Hydra, whatever it's called. The Trump pills was what we're going to end up calling them. And her doctor told her, she put this on Facebook, my wife was telling me about it, that's where I heard it, that she won't probably get coronavirus because of this. So I don't know, are there lupus patients with coronavirus or not that are taking this medication? I think that would be an interesting study. And the president said on Sunday, or was it Sunday, that there are 1,100 patients they were using it on in New York. And Sunday he said it started 2 days ago. So it didn't start as early as we thought. But the FDA did that special approval night before last. So that to me indicates that they have gotten some positive information out of New York. And I was hoping to get a lot more. I know there are some things. There's that French study with 80 patients where all but 2 showed recovery. But the president on Sunday was really shaming the press into their negative coverage. And there's a lot of positive stories that I think they should be focusing on. There's an incredible positive story about coronavirus today. Andy Cohen. Any of you guys know Andy Cohen? Andy Cohen's awesome. He's Anderson Cooper's best friend. I know who Andy Cooper is. He gets a little wacky on New Year's Eve, but I like Andy Cohen. A couple weeks ago, he got coronavirus from a neighbor that he was delivering food to in his building in New York. 12 days later, boom, he got over it. He recovered. He had it. He was sick. He recovered. He's all well now. He's back to work. He was isolating himself from his son. There was a time not that long ago where an openly gay man who had a son would be controversial. That's not even controversial anymore. But this is an incredibly positive story. I mentioned yesterday, Tom Hanks and his wife, Rita Wilson, they got coronavirus in Australia. They recovered. They isolated. They're back in California like nothing happened. What about all the NBA guys? These NBA guys that all were coming down with coronavirus, why are we not hearing about them? It's been a while now. I'm assuming they recovered because we haven't heard any terrible stories. How did they recover? Did they take this malaria drug? I don't know. The Trump pills. There's a lot of positive stories about the coronavirus, but the press don't want any positive stories. They only want negativity. And you can see how they hate Trump. I was talking about this yesterday. I'm going to say it again today because I'd like to get this going. I put this on Twitter. I'm not sure if I said this on the radio yesterday, but I did tweet this. I'm not sure if I tweeted this yesterday or Sunday, but the left and the media continue to say that President Trump should not be making decisions about any of this, right? Shouldn't make decisions. He should listen to the doctors and scientists. It's an interesting thing. They want him to relinquish the presidential authority to doctors. But they think only doctors and scientists are qualified to make decisions. Well, you know, the White House press corps, you saw Jim Acosta. I saw Jim Acosta long before he was called on by Trump, and he was sitting there in judgment with a look on his face and a jerk. But that is a political press corps. Those are political reporters. I think they should all be pulled out, and we should put in there medical reporters. There are doctors who are medical reporters with a long history of experience in journalism who work for all the major news outlets. Sanjay Gupta. There are several at Fox News Channel. They have on-air doctors that for decades have worked at NBC News. So maybe we should switch out these political reporters whose angle is always a political angle and bring in the medical journalist. They're limiting the number of reporters in these briefings for good reason, obviously. I think that would be a smart move. You know, it's not an accident that they've had the last two outside as opposed to that tiny little press briefing room. But I would find the press conferences much better and more informative and more productive if we had medical reporters. I know, I'm not saying I'm a fan of Sanjay Gupta. I've heard some crap come from him from time to time. But if we had the doctors like Fox, John Roberts at Fox is great at the White House, and he asks great and relevant questions. But wouldn't you rather see Dr. Oz asking questions or Siegel, Dr. Siegel, who's on Fox? I would. That's me. You know, if doctors should be making all the decisions according to the press, we should have medical journalists at the White House press briefings, at least at the coronavirus pressers. Now, there was a bit of a scary moment yesterday during the press conference. I'll tell you what that was when we get back. All right, we'll be right back. My name is Brian. This is The Steve Kane Show. We are live from 6 till 9 a.m. Monday through Friday. We'll take our break for the top of the hour and be right back after this. Don't go anywhere.
95.3 FM, 96.9 FM, 103.9 FM,
Steve Kane Show.
AM 1470. WWNN
Hey, hold on.
Pompano Beach is the Florida Money Talk Network.
We are chatting today with Frank, the owner of two magnificent Ace Hardware stores.
Yeah, that's what it is. Trump's hair.
One, Deerfield Beach, 365 South Federal Highway, about a quarter of a mile south of Hillsborough on the west side of Federal Highway. And the other, Beach Ace Hardware, located at 232 Commercial Boulevard, half a block west of A1A in Lauderdale by the sea. How many years have you owned this business?
I've been in the hardware business for over 40 years, Steve.
If I have a home project that I'm doing, there are so many around the house, that's the big thing today. What's the difference of my experience if I go to Ace Hardware as opposed to these major impersonal chain stores?
Oh, there's a huge difference. The basic difference is customer service. We're an old-time fashion hardware store. We have experienced people that are working our stores. Our employees are just top-notch. They're very experienced. They know their business. When you're doing a project, guy. You can come into the store and you can get somebody that knows what they're doing, somebody that will like to work with you. They'll find you the right project, the right pieces, the first time, so you can get in and out with the right material.
Yeah, this is your
There are lots
thing.
of
Don't
Ace
cough on
Hardware
me.
stores,
This is an
but
awesome
there are
shirt.
only 2 that are advertising with
Don't
the Steve
cough
King
on
Show.
me.
We're talking about the Deerfield location, a quarter of a mile south of Hillsborough Boulevard on the west side of Federal, and of course the Beach Ace Hardware located
That's a good
at
one.
232 Commercial Boulevard, a half block west of A1A in Lauderdale by the Sea. Very, very special locations. Be sure to mention Steve Kane sent you.
Does your life insurance policy only pay someone if you die? The new life insurance policies allow you to access your benefits even while you are still alive. Due to changes in the insurance industry, all life insurance carriers in 2020 have adjusted their premiums.
I don't like
to your
Bossy. I
advantage.
don't think he should be
Life insurance
doing,
rates have been
interviews.
lowered due to the updated mortality
I don't
tables.
like him. I don't think he
People are
likes
living
Trump.
longer in America, and that means life insurance premiums are lower. Call Debbie and Dan at I Will Advisors, 954-753-8080 to learn more and for a free review of your existing life insurance policy. 954-753-8080. 954-753-8080.
The Steve Kane Show is brought to you by attorney Barry Siegel at the Siegel Law Group. Avoid probate with a revocable living trust. $350 for single people, $450 for married couples. When you complete your
Oh,
trust
yeah.
with attorney
Lawn care. Are
Barry
you
Siegel,
kidding?
He will give you a $100 gift certificate to town.
Yeah, any medical doctors. Send them all out there. I don't
Call
care.
the Siegel Law Group with 9 offices in South Florida.
I think that's a great
including
idea. You guys
downtown
don't think so?
Coral Gables and downtown Miami. 1-855-FLA-3782.
Oh, boy.
You are listening to South Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show. To call the show toll free, dial 1-888-GO-KANE 1. That's 1-888-GO-KANE 1. And now, here's...
All right, welcome back. Hour number 2 has begun. I'm Brian Craig. This is the Steve Kane Show. I brought up a lot of topics. Got some new ones to bring up, and I'll review a little later. Some that I brought up in the first hour because I think I brought up some really good stuff. Yeah, there was a bit of a scary moment in that press conference yesterday. When the wind started blowing, when the president was talking, I was like, oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. But the president's hair did not move too much. Oh, man. I know. Were you guys watching that? Oh, it was a little scary there. Welcome back. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest running radio show on the radio since 1977. Our number toll free 1-888-GO-KANE-1. That's a toll free call. 1-888-465-2631. All right, first call of the day. You're on the radio. Good morning.
Good morning, Matt. Brian's Mac.
Max in Coral Springs. You still in Coral Springs, Max? Pompano Beach. What are you doing in Pompano Beach?
Living it up, man.
Come on. How do you live it up in Pompano Beach? Tell me how you live it up in Pompano. Go. Not these days. Not these days. Is the beach open in Pompano?
Well, I ride my bike down there, and
Okay. Living it up in Pompano Beach. You know, my grandparents retired to Florida, and they lived in Pompano Beach. And a few years ago, I was really young when they lived there, and you know, they passed away a long time ago. I was with my wife and daughter, and I was driving through Pompano Beach, and I was like, "Oh, my grandparents used to live down this street." I went down the street that they lived on. Oh my goodness. It was scary. My grandparents, they lived in this duplex, and it turned into a drug den. That whole neighborhood now, it's gone down the tubes. Anyway, what's on your mind?
I'm east of Federal. I don't know where that.
All right. I know. Yeah, okay. What's on your mind?
There, that of course, and the mainstream media is not showing anything about the people that are recovering. That have been diagnosed, that are on.
Well, I'll tell you the thing about the NBA players. Okay, the NBA players, a lot of them came out. They had the coronavirus, and there was a lot of controversy that they had the test when the tests were hard to get. And I suspect they have all recovered by now because of the time. And I would suspect that many, if not all of them, were given that malaria. The Trump pills, the malaria drug, the Z-Pack, the zinc. And, you know, I think that they've all recovered is a good, positive story. You know, that nobody's interested in it. Sports reporters are sitting around with nothing to do right now. Do a story on these NBA players that tested positive. And let's let people know that people are recovering.
Well, here's what I'm getting at. Inside Edition had a report on this lady. She was either in her late 30s or early 40s. She's a nutritionist. She was in the hospital for 9 days and was getting worse. And what did they say that she was given? Hydrochloroquine.
Oh, the Trump pills.
Yep, she was given the malaria pill, the medication, not the fish water pesticide treatment.
Yeah.
She was given the medication, made a full recovery, and doing selfie workout videos.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. And you know, here's I was talking about this on the show the other day. The number they give us is not really a great number. They give us the number of those who test positive without ever subtracting from that number the people that recover. And when you recover, they're no longer testing positive, right? They keep testing you until you no longer test positive, and then you're recovered and you can leave isolation. And it usually takes about 12 days, I think, because I keep hearing about 12 days for Andy Cohen, 12 days for this guy, 12 days for Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson. That seems to be the magic number. But they really, without subtracting from that number, it's an overinflated number that scares the hell out of people, and it does a disservice.
Surveyors of propaganda and fear, you know, all the little internet news, media stuff they have in mainstream, they emphasize more on this idiot that drank this fish pesticide chemical, which was a...
Well, we're finding out more about this lady today. The lady that her husband died and she says she drank it too, but she just got sick and the husband died. There's some new information on her. Hold on, let me pull this up. I was going to get to this later. I've got so many... You know, if you follow me on Twitter, any story I read that I think I might talk about, I tweet, and I put it up there. Hold on, let me get this in just a second. She's a hardcore Democrat. Yeah, I can't find the story now. Yeah, I can't find the story offhand. I'll find it in a little bit. But she's a Democrat activist, and who donates money to Democrat causes. So, you know, I'm really questioning this whole story of her and this fish. You know, one thing I was talking about the other day is, you know, how do we know she wasn't trying to murder her husband? He died, she didn't. You know, I mean, there should, you know, I am sure, or at least I would hope, wherever this happened, that local authorities are thinking about that they're looking into that. I guess I didn't tweet that story about her being a Dem. Yeah. All right. Appreciate the call, Max in Coral Springs. You're on the radio. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Brian.
Hey, Richie.
Laura had somebody recovered off of that pill again, another guy last night. Just making it a point. Guy spent like 9 days with 102 fever, couldn't break it. As soon as they gave, and he couldn't breathe, they said he thought it was over. And they sent in another doctor, and the doctor recommended the last chance he could have, and the guy is recovering now. Yeah, well, you know, Laura Ingraham better stop sharing all these people that have recovered from the Trump pills, or they may do to her what they did to Trish Regan. Yeah, they're trying to throw Sean Hannity off the air because they're saying that Hannity gave out information. Some guy from the Washington Post that Hannity was giving out wrong information on the in the beginning, that it's a nothing thing and it's a nothing thing. And Mark Levin, I have to bring him up last night, he had a tape. This doctor, Tony Fauci, who the Democrats say follow the science, in January he was saying this is a nothing burger, basically. Well, I don't trust this Fauci guy. I don't trust Fauci. I know he's a ready for Hillary guy. I don't think he... I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I don't like him. I don't think he respects the president. And he seems to have a lot of vested interest in this vaccine as opposed to some of the other treatments out there. And I don't know exactly what that vested interest is, but he always goes back to the vaccine that'll be ready in a year as opposed to things that are there now. point is, President is following the science, and his information that he's giving these people it's only information he's getting from those doctors. He knows a little more than we.
Now, I don't know. Did you hear me talking about? Did you hear me in the last hour talking about the pastor that got arrested for having church services in Tampa? Oh, yeah, you gotta set that alarm clock. Just woke up at 7. The show starts at 6, man. You know that, right? Show starts at 6. Please, come on. How often am I not here? How many times has that happened? How many times has that happened? And what time period?
From the 6 to 7.
Yeah, and no. I'm talking about like over a year, over the course of a year or two. How many times has something like that happened? In 2 years. That's amazing. Yeah, 5 times in 2 years. You know how many shows I do? Exactly. So what do you can a guy get a day? I can't get an hour off sometimes if something's going on.
Before you got me getting up for.
Oh my gosh! I mean, gee whiz! You're a slave driver. The only vacation I get are cruises, and you know. Listen, this I'm not going to talk to you about it then, since you didn't hear. I'm not going to recap it right now, but you know, listen. There's a lot of positive news stories out there, and there's a complete media blackout on them, and I'm telling you, I just have a suspicion that. Yeah, I've had 5 hours off in the last 2 years, and Richie's acting like I'm a slacker. I mean, my goodness, gee whiz, you know. Do you know, when we took our first cruise, which was like a long weekend cruise, it was like 3 or 4 days, our first cruise, you know, that was the first time I had that many days off since my daughter came home from the hospital when she was born. And my daughter was, 17 or 18 years old then. So what the hell? And when we... Yeah.
I hated to listen to
yeah.
myself on the day.
Yeah. Oh my God. So in the course of 2 years, I had what adds up to a day and a half off, and you're acting like I'm some kind of slacker. Gee whiz.
Just Acosta deal, okay? Jim Acosta. I think this is great, because when I saw the president said, "Oh, here goes," he under his breath and said, "We'll give him a shot," and then he called him, and he made a fool out of himself again.
Well, I was watching, before he called on him a little while earlier. By the way, that one American news reporter that asked about, she referred to abortion as the killing of babies. I could hear the press. They just, oh man. But, you know, they did a wide shot of the press long before Acosta got called on. And I saw him there sitting back with his legs crossed like a girl, looking at Trump, like judging Trump, with this smirk on his face. He is such a jack. Hey, yeah, I don't want to say it. Yeah.
A joke, not a reporter, and I think he's damaging CNN. And it's good because they're so stupid they keep him there. I mean, I think it's great, personally. And there's a few others that are the same way, but he is like the leader of the pack.
Well, when this is all over, you know, we're going to be over this sooner rather than later. I mean, we're getting to some good days ahead. But when this, yeah, a good thing, yeah.
Talked to a guy in the park yesterday. He was working out, you know, and I said to him, you know, we started talking. And I said, "Where are you from?" He says, "I'm from New York." I said, "Oh, isn't it terrible what's going on up there?" He says, "I'm a cardio nurse. I'm going up there. I'm leaving in 2 days." He says, "I want to try to do something to save my city, and the pay is like double the pay. It's overtime." So
yeah.
Because right now I'm working at Sebastian Hospital. There isn't one case in the whole hospital.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, not one case. He said they don't need me here. They need me in my city, New York.
Well, that's good. Is it? I would. Does he have kids that are young, or is they grown? I would think he.
Father down here that he's got cancer and he's on chemo. Says, "I've been told that I got to stay away from my father for at least 30 days after it's over, because you know my father has his resistance as well." But he says, "No, they need me up in New York, but there isn't one case." That he says, Indian River County, the other hospital, hardly anything. He says this is a very safe place.
Yeah, you know, and I drove by my neighborhood hospital on Sunday, and it was a ghost town. You know, so. Well, you know, the problem that the reason that is because people are not running to, we have, and at least in this community, we have too many hospitals. Okay, this isn't New York. We have too many hospitals, and they're basically clinics. People run in there, they scrape their elbow, and they're in the ER. You know what I mean? People run to the ER like it's a clinic, and now, but now people don't run to the ER for stupid things that you don't need to see a doctor for. So because they're afraid. So the ERs, I drove by the emergency room on Sunday at my neighborhood hospital, and they had the nurse doing intake outside, wearing a mask and the gown and the hat. She looked like, it was crazy, and there was no patients and no cars in the parking lot.
Look, your first public employee quoted, he's up in Boca, one of your publics.
Oh, which one, do you know? Let me find out which one and make sure it's not the one I go to. All right, I'm gonna Google it. I'm gonna Google it during the break and see if I can. Does anyone know what Publix? Which location? Oh my gosh, there's a Publix every 10 feet, right here in South Florida. So if anybody knows which one, oh my goodness. No. All right, well let me take a break and I'll Google and see if I can find out which one that is to make sure I don't go to that one. My name is Brian Craig. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest running radio show on the radio since 1977. That's right. Let's take a break. We'll be right back after this.
Hi, this is George Corey of the Soul Authority. In this time of social distancing and sheltering in place, many people have been forced to neglect their feet. We at the Soul Authority are making it possible for you to still take care of your feet while remaining in your home, as we will send a doctor to your house for all of your podiatric needs. The best part of all is that Medicare pays for this visit. So, if you're a Medicare recipient, give the Soul Authority a call today at 954-597-7060. That's 954-597-7060. Don't let social distancing stop you from taking care of your feet. Call the Soul Authority today.
This is Steve Kane with a special offer from Any Lab Test Now of Coral Springs and Any Lab Test Now of Boca for the remainder of the month of March. The basic checkup panel, which consists of the most important lab tests that are essential to your maintaining good health, are available for Steve Kane listeners.
I know which
for
one.
the incredibly low price, just
Steve Kane Show.
$99, normally $129, but for the
Hey,
month
Ray.
of March, and only for Steve Kane listeners, $30 off, just $99 for Steve Kane listeners only. That is just for the month of March.
That's right, Steve. It's a huge savings. The basic checkup panel includes a CBC, which checks for conditions that affect blood cells, like anemia, infection, inflammation, bleeding disorder, and even cancer. A CMP that checks the current status of your kidneys and liver, as well as electrolyte and acid-base balance and levels of blood glucose and blood proteins. A total cholesterol test with triglycerides, HDL, and LDL. For men, a PSA. For women, a CA125 to screen for ovarian cancer, a UA to check for metabolic and kidney disorders, and for urinary tract infections. Now this deal is just for the month of March. You get all that for just $99. It's usually $129, but just $99 for the month of March. Any Lab Test Now of Coral Springs is located on the southeast corner of University and Ramblewood, near the Coral Square Mall. Any Lab Test Now of Boca is on 441 between Palmetto and Hillsborough in the Sandalfoot Plaza, where the Western Beef is.
If you have any questions, just call 954-906-5983. That's 954-906-5983. Tell them Steve and Brian sent you.
Listen to The Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio. Just search for W.
All right, yeah, today's the last day of March. That means it is the last day of that incredible special at Any Lab Test Now of Boca and Any Lab Test Now of Coral Springs. Listen, there's lots of Any Lab Test Nows around. You all know that, but there are only two that are advertising on the Steve Kane Show. Any Lab Test Now of Boca Raton and Any Lab Test Now of Coral Springs. And listen, I know you still need lab tests. A lot of people have to get lab testing all the time. So I know, primary care physicians are where the sick people go, right? And, so to me, it's just, I try to stay away from the primary care physician's office on a regular day. But in this area, you want to stay way away from a primary care physician's office. Any Lab Test Now of Boca, Any Lab Test Now of Coral Springs. That's the last day of this special, but you'll find similar savings on all of their thousands of tests. The Coral Springs location, southeast corner of University and Ramblewood, near the Coral Square Mall. Any Lab Test Now of Boca in the Sandalfoot Plaza, where the Western Beef is, between Palmetto Park Road and Hillsboro. That's right. And let me give you the number. This is the Boca Any Lab Test Now number, but they can help you at either location with this number, 561-237-5009. 561-237-5009. All right, Ray in Sunrise. I did find in the Palm Beach Post which Publix, and it's not one that I shop at, thankfully, so I'm just not sure if I should. I'll read the story after I talk to Ray, and I'll tell you guys which Publix location has disinfected the entire store, according to the paper. Ray from Sunrise.
On a little more weighty matters, okay? First of all, thanks for recognizing Mike Lindell, who is not afraid to publicly profess his faith. You know, we need a lot more of that. And, you know, Trump doesn't just end, you know, the rally used to be the rallies and other things that he has by thanking God. And this has been a big thing that Mike pointed out, that President Trump is helping us to get back, you know, to recognizing what really makes America great and who's behind it. And that's a lot of things. Yeah, original questions at the beginning of the show. I'm Mike Ritchie. I get up at 6 according to your...
Thank you, Ray. I appreciate that.
You know, I'm very concerned about freedom of religion, but I have a couple of questions here. Now, what basis do they have for arresting this pastor?
Oh well, let me do a recap. Let me do a recap on that story, and then after I talk to Ray, I'll play the audio again. But Sunday night, a pastor in Tampa, Florida, was arrested by the local sheriff, Hillsborough County Sheriff, for having church services on Sunday. And there was a conflict that led up to this. And the sheriff, let me play the clips of the sheriff. This is the sheriff talking about the arrest.
More important than faith during a time like this. And as a sheriff's office, we would never impede someone's ability to lean on their religious beliefs as a means of comfort. But practicing those beliefs has to be done safely. Last night I made a decision to seek an arrest warrant for the pastor of a local church who intentionally and repeatedly chose to disregard the orders set in place by our president, our governor, the CDC, and the Hillsborough County Emergency Policy Group. His reckless disregard for human life put hundreds of people in his congregation at risk, and thousands of residents who may interact with them this week in danger.
Okay, so they arrested the pastor, but I would tell you, the sheriff's office was in communication with the pastor through attorneys prior to this, and the sheriff knew that this pastor was going to have church services. He could have blocked off the roads and stopped people from getting there. So if it's a crime to have them, there's certainly some responsibility on behalf of the sheriff by his position. But there's no orders not to worship in churches that are commanded by the government. I don't even know if that's constitutional, Ray. I don't know.
Now that you played that again, I heard him say that...
that's the sheriff I just played.
Blank, blank, by the president, the government, the CDC, and he mentioned somebody else. But was this a recommendation?
My understanding is we're getting recommendations. I haven't seen legislation being passed. You know, it seems like a recommendation. Now I say I wouldn't go to church, and I don't think people should go. And what the pastor did was, I believe, selfish and self-serving, and the people who went, as well as the pastor, should maybe be quarantined for a couple of weeks to make sure, you know, because they are risking infecting not just themselves but others. But I've never heard of a pastor in the United States being arrested for conducting a church service. And the first question I say to myself, if he was not white, if he was a black pastor, would they have arrested him? If he was a rabbi, if he was an imam, would he have been arrested?
Yeah, you make a good point on that. Yeah, you see, there's a lot of things that this is a slippery slope here. You know, we do have limits on some of our rights. You know, you can't fight, you can't shout fire in a crowded theater. That's free speech. You know.
Well, that's not true. You can yell fire in a crowded theater if there's a fire. That's an analogy that's used, that you can't cause a panic. If you cause a panic that gets people stomped on and stomped to death in a crowd, you could cause you can't incite violence. That's correct. You can't incite violence. Yeah.
The thing here with this pastor, the only thing I could see here is public safety. Now, we have martial law that can be imposed, but again, as we're saying, there's no regulation. This hasn't been declared as far as I know. I mean, it's been a recommendation. That's different. You're going a long way to arrest someone.
Well, the sheriff in Hillsborough County, again, yeah. I'm not going to church anytime. Frankly, I haven't really gone since they had that church shooting months ago. I really haven't gone since then. My wife hasn't gone. She hasn't wanted to go. But the thing about this, hold on, Ray. The thing about this, okay, I want to be careful. I don't know anything about this minister. I've seen a couple of clips of him. He seems to be a loony guy. I don't know. He could be the greatest pastor ever, or he could be like a Fred Phelps. I don't know. But the sheriff, if the sheriff knew what the guy was going to do, he could have sent deputies in Saturday night around 1 a.m, set up some roadblocks where people couldn't go down the road to the church, and he allowed the service to happen. And arresting the pastor is a little heavy-handed, I think.
Yep, I think so.
Well, what do you think? What do you think, Ray? The sheriff should have done. What should have been done before and after? So, I mean, I think something should be done, but what is it?
But you see, there's a lot of problems involved in this. You're violating people's rights. There has to be a reason for it. And so far, I don't see a justification. I don't see a violation of what? A recommendation?
Yeah, and I'm telling you, if this pastor was black, if he was a rabbi, if he was an imam, it never would have happened. Now the sheriff may have come in to stop a service or something, or another one from having, but there wouldn't be a mug. This guy's got a mug shot all over the news. There's a mug. They booked him. He's bailed out. I've never heard of this happening. I've never, even during the civil rights movement, Martin Luther King and other pastors got arrested. But they were never arrested for having a particular church service. They were arrested for demonstrating, you know what I mean? It's a different thing. I've never heard of a minister, a pastor in America, being arrested for having a church service. If it's happened, let me know.
Brian, I have a personal recommendation for you, because you said several times, and including today, that you were afraid to take communion and so on. Now, this is something you might look into. It's called in-tincture. Now, in my church, they place the wafer in your hand. You have an option, all right? They place the wafer in your hand. You take the wafer, and then you dip it in the common cup, and then you serve it to yourself. Now, there's a lot of other ways to do this. So, see, Roman Catholics are a little different, because, for years, only the priest would have the common cup. But there wouldn't be a common cup. Only the priest would take the wine, because they said that when you receive the bread or the body of Christ, you receive...
Yeah. 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 Well, when things get back to normal, I think there's going to be some changes. I believe that I talked about this for weeks. The main reason Italy, it spread so much, I believe, is Holy Communion. It's where Rome is, right? The Vatican. It's a very Catholic country. They go to Mass. They go regularly. They're all drinking from the same cup. And I think that's why it spread in Italy to the levels it has. In my opinion, is the communion cup.
Definitely, I would recommend against that. But
I know what you mean. I've been to churches where you dip it in there. I went to a Methodist church service once, and they did communion, and I didn't know that the Methodists dipped the wafer in the wine, and I took the cup and drank from it. Oh my gosh! You should have seen the looks like. Nobody said anything, but I got some looks, man. And from the pastor or from the parade, I didn't know. It was just out of habit. I took the cup and I took a swig out of the cup, because that's what you do with it. And they looked at me like you wouldn't believe. It was craziness.
also had a tray of these little thimble cups.
Yeah, the Mormons do that. The Mormons, they're like little shot glasses. The Mormons do that. All right, Ray, I got to run, but thanks a lot. Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, thimbles. Yeah, they're like thimbles. All right. That was pretty funny when oh my God, I was embarrassed after because I didn't know. I didn't know. All right, let's take our break for the bottom of the hour. I'm Brian. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest running radio show. We'll be back. Don't go anywhere.
This is Brian Craig. I've been telling you about the great deals and incredible customer service at Friendly Tire on both new tires and used tires. One of our listeners, Antonio, went to Friendly Tire and called to share with us his experience of buying used tires at Friendly Tire in Margate. Good morning, you're on the radio.
Hey, yes, Brian, I want to give you a quick testimony about the tire place up in Margate, Friendly Tire. Friendly Tire is everything you said it would be, man. I went up there and got me some used tires, and when I went up there, man, he was very courteous. My whole family's going for that, man. Everything you said it was going to be, man. I appreciate you for that, man, and Mike's a great guy, man.
Well, what's your name?
Antonio.
All right, Antonio. Hey, I'm glad we could save you and your family lots of money on tires at Friendly Tire.
Oh, no doubt, man. Thanks so much, man.
Do what Antonio did. Stop into Friendly Tire and find incredible deals on both new and used tires. Give Friendly Mike a call right now. 954-977-9445. 954-977-9445. And Mike will give you a quote right over the phone. 954-977-9445 for Friendly Tire in Margate.
Yeah, this is the one. It says, I was showing this earlier. It says, don't cough on me instead of don't tread on me. I think that's hilarious. My wife got this for me. Isn't that hilarious?
Or visit their website at brc4am.com.
Steve Kane Show.
Does your life insurance policy only pay someone if you die? The new life insurance policies allow
Steve
you
Kane
to
Show.
access your benefits even while you were still alive.
It is pretty
Due to
funny, isn't it?
changes in the insurance industry, all life insurance carriers in 2020 have adjusted their premiums to your advantage. Life insurance rates have been lowered due to the updated mortality tables. People are living longer in America, and that means life insurance premiums are lower. Call Debbie and Dan at I Will Advisors, 954-753-8080 to learn more and for a free review of your existing life insurance policy. 954-753-8080. 954-753-8080.
I'm attorney Barry Siegel with the Siegel Law Group. Do you have a revocable living trust? If not, why not? Save time, save money, and avoid...
I know. I wish I'd have thought about it. Could make $1 million off these shirts if I'd have thought of it.
$450 for married
I will.
Call me. I have 5 offices
I will.
throughout South Florida. The phone number is toll-free, 855-FLA-3782. Again, 855-FLA-3782.
Listen to the Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio.
All right, welcome back. I was showing everyone on YouTube. My wife got me this funny T-shirt. Came in the mail yesterday, and you know the "Don't Tread on Me" flag that a lot of conservatives wear. The Gadsden flag, the "Don't Tread on Me" shirt, and my wife got me this T-shirt. It's yellow, and from afar it looks like a "Don't Tread on Me" shirt because it has the serpent up there. But instead of "Don't tread on me," it says "Don't cough on me." So if you're watching on, I was showing everybody on YouTube. I showed this. It was pretty clever. I wish I would have thought of this. We could have made $1 million off this T-shirt design, but it's already out there. Somebody else is doing it. You can find it online, I'm sure. All right, listen. We'll go to the phone. Steve here. Our number 1-888-GO-KANE-1. I'll play the local news story in just a bit of the pastor in Tampa arrested for having church services. You're on the radio. Good morning.
Hi, Brian. Good morning. I'm thrilled to talk to you, but I'm calling really specifically about the pastor story.
Yeah.
I don't know because I like Ray. I think his name was.
Ray.
Or like Richie, I guess, or Ray that called in about the pastor. I don't know because I missed you in the morning this morning, the first hour, so I didn't hear everything you said.
Ah, shame on you. Another person who missed the first hour.
That this was. Did you hear that this was supposedly Donald Trump's friend?
No. This is like that game of telephone we used to play. This guy, I would be shocked to find he was Donald Trump's friend. He might be friends with that guy in that new Netflix series, Tiger Man. Have you heard of Tiger Man? Maybe that, but not Trump. No, Donald Trump would not have a friend like this. In fact, if he was a friend of Donald Trump's, that would be in every headline of every story about it nationwide. Believe me, you wouldn't have to call and ask me. Yeah. Now, but let me ask you this, though, okay? The pastor is an idiot and self-serving, but But the sheriff, do you think the sheriff, let me ask the caller first, Steve. Let me ask the lady, the nice lady who called. Do you think the sheriff went a little over the line arresting the pastor for having the service?
Either it was you or somebody else suggested that they could have stopped it if it was so.
Well, the sheriff had his attorneys dealing for several days with the church attorney, so he knew it was going to happen. And he could have sent in deputies the night before and blocked off the roads to the church and blocked off the church. So the sheriff could have stopped it. Well, because several hundred people went and exposed themselves, and he could have stopped it. You know? No, he didn't. No, he didn't. No, it was they had multiple services on Sunday, and they arrested the pastor Sunday evening after all the services had happened. So the sheriff knew he was going to do it, and he could have. Yeah, it was more than late. I would say incompetent. And if he's, he should have. I don't think the services should have happened. The guy's a grandstander. The people that go to that parish are lunatics. And but I do. Hey, come on, would you go to a service right now?
It's a tough market, the religious market. A lot of competition. You got to be creative.
No, the guy. The few clips I've seen of the guy, he looks like a lunatic. Conservatives about this. While it's a shocking story, be very careful about defending this guy because we don't know anything about him. He could be a great pastor or he could be like Reverend Fred Phelps. You don't know. So I know a lot of, we don't know.
I don't think a great pastor would do something like that. I think that clearly.
I agree.
Oh, yeah.
Clearly he had motives.
He's a showboater.
For his own.
Selfish. Self-serving. It was completely self-serving. Yeah. Yeah. It was, I would say he was taking on the man and all this stuff. But I think arresting a pastor is a little heavy-handed in this instance, and the sheriff should have stopped. They could have stopped the services from even happening, and the sheriff knew they were going to do it and didn't stop it. So the sheriff is a little more than a little. He's very incompetent up there. He knew the guy was going to do it.
Arrest him to have a media story to advertise.
Well, one thing I'd like to know about. Yeah, one thing I'd like to know about the sheriff, I mean, I guess I could Google it, but if anybody knows, is... Well, how do you know it's a better idea? You haven't heard mine yet. How can it be better than what I haven't said yet? Yeah, I know. Ray from Sunrise?
I'd like to know what Ray thinks about that. He's only been on the show for a half hour.
He wasn't on for half an hour. What I'd like to know about the sheriff in Hillsborough, and I'll look at it.
You get it, don't you?
Doesn't get it. No, she gets what you're talking about. I don't know if she agrees. Ed from Tavolino? He's fine. Ed from Tavolino's fine.
Oh yeah, as soon as we have a no guest policy during the plague here, but as soon as we're doing guests again, Ed'll be the first one asked back.
Well, all right, appreciate it. The studio's too. Our studio is so small. It's basically a sound booth. Our studio is very small, so and Steve's in a high risk group. But the thing about the pastor and the sheriff, what I'd like to know about the sheriff is he a Republican? Is he a Democrat? And is he up for election this year? Because it is an election year. But the sheriff's a bit of a showboater too. And he should have stopped the services from happening. And everybody that went to that, those services that they had on Sunday, should be rounded up like we're doing with the New Yorkers and isolate. Well, they need to be isolated. And God only knows how many people they've come in contact with. It was stupid. And it was very stupid. Yeah, but they've got kids and they're going around in the community. Now, this is something I'm reluctant to do, and I'm going to leave this up to callers to decide what we should do. No, I'd rather take some calls on it. I thought it might be more interesting to do that. Okay, now there is... Ray was not on for very long, Steve. I mean, whatever, So a worker from a Publix has tested positive for coronavirus. I know which Publix it is, and I have a credible source as to what Publix it is. And what I want to know from... At Publix?
Yeah, we met. Don't you remember we met after the show? We ran into each other at Publix and you introduced me to all your friends who were your fans over there.
Well, at the Publix of my neighborhood, there's a lot of listeners at my Publix. I mean, it's crazy. I go to my Publix, and customers and people that work there, it's like if I'm ever depressed, I go to Publix and I'll run into listeners. No, but a Publix worker has tested positive for coronavirus. And what I want callers to let me know what I should do about this. Should I let people know on the air which Publix he worked at? And they either have or are in the process of disinfecting the entire store, which is, boy, that's a process. And I really don't know, and this is what I'll leave it up to callers to do.
Does he work here now?
Just let me throw it out there. What I want to hear from callers, is it appropriate for me to identify the store? I don't want to be in a situation where we're pointing to people like Donald Sutherland in the remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Yeah, exactly. When someone went somewhere who is positive for coronavirus, I don't know if that's the right thing to do or not. So I'd like to hear from some callers. Should I tell people on the radio which Publix this is? And I will tell you, I'll make sure not to shop there for a while personally myself, but should we tell people what store it is or not? Oh, well, I don't know. I don't know. But no, I've got all the information. I don't know that. But I'd like to hear from callers. Should we identify the Publix location or not? 1-888-GO-KANE-1. I would say this is they have disinfected the store. I've got the information here. And if you start identifying places where people like this have gone, and don't, that gets into a very sketchy thing to do. And well, I want to hear what some callers think about it, and because I know which Publix it is. And I'm telling you, I'm not gonna be going here anytime soon. But our number 1-888-GO-KANE-1. Now I will tell you someplace all of you should go soon for either lunch or dinner, and that's Wings Plus. And I got to say a thing here about Wings Plus. My in-laws actually went over there yesterday for lunch. Now, usually Wings Plus has 2 locations, but we primarily talk about the Sample Road location. The Sample Road the Sample Road location is going through renovations right now. And by the way, these were long planned. Brian over at Wings Plus told us months ago they were going through renovations, which would take about a month. They're doing extensive renovations. I drive by there every day after the show, and they got a whole work crew over there. They took out all the tables the other day. They're doing all kinds of work in there. So the second location of Wings Plus is open for takeout, and it's the Ramblewood location, and they're available for takeout at lunch and dinner. And the address and phone number I have right at the top of SteveKaneShow.com, so I'm going to give it to you right now. The address is 1235 North University Drive in Coral Springs. It's over there off of Ramblewood and University by the Coral Square Mall. And the phone number, which I have listed at the top of SteveKaneShow.com, is 954, because you might want to order ahead, 954-757-4950, 954-757-4950. This is the Ramblewood location of Wings Plus. And by the way, it's Brian Walsh, he owns that one too, not just the Sample Road location. He owns them both. So it's all the same great, incredible food that you love. Yeah, the homemade clam chowder, the incredible chili, the wings that are just the best wings I've ever had.
And get
Steve Kane Show.
The delicious wings to go, and then we're back for the second half. But it's the greatest takeout you'll find there.
Yeah, and what they're open for lunch and dinner. And what I keep recommending people do, because this is what I do when I take takeout. I get the 50-wing platter. And here's the thing about the 50-wing platter. Okay, I'll give you a little insider secret. I've been eating at Wings Plus for many years, longer than they were a sponsor. They've been with us for a long time. Yeah, and it is probably the most pro-Donald Trump restaurant you will ever find. I mean, they sell for cost, by the way. Trump 2020 hats are in over there. When you order the wing platter, the 50-wing platter, you don't have to get all the same kind of wings. So, like if you like medium wings, but your wife or kids like the lemon pepper wings, you can split it. Okay, just a little tip. So anyway, the address of the Ramblewood location and the phone number at stevekaneshow.com. All right, let's go to the phones. You're on the radio. Good morning.
Hi, Brian and Steve. This is Amy.
Yeah, the same. Oh.
Boca.
Yeah. Like, I'll throw this. By the way, you called earlier, so I'm going to cut it short. It's once a day. You're a good caller, but once a day. I'll say what this is like, okay? Well, she called 5 minutes ago, Steve. I'm sorry. You know, you think Ray's on too long? I don't know. She's about to become one. She's a good caller, nice lady, but twice in 5 minutes. Steve's single, so, you know, a female calls in, he gets great. Oh, sure. Okay. Can you imagine what it's like dating during here? But here's the thing, okay? If you go back, remember when you had that guy with AIDS on the radio, and was it the late Jerry Wichner, didn't want to come into the studio because a man used the microphone that had AIDS. He always brought guns in with him, Jerry. He always had guns with him. He had a gun and a toupee, and the worst toupee, you've ever seen. Jerry Wichner's toupee, those who remember Jerry Wichner, his toupee, the best way to describe his toupee is if you ever have not cleaned the lint screen of your clothes dryer at home for a long time and you've been washing towels and things like this, and you pull out that lint screen and it's this thick thing of lint. That was Jerry's toupee. It was that kind of thing. It was pretty worst I've ever seen. But, when you start doing things like that, it's just not the thing to do. Now, if you want to know what Publix it is, it didn't take me long to find out online. So what I would tell you to do is go online and search, and if you desperately want to know, you can find out. I don't have some exclusive information. It was in the Palm Beach Post, okay? I don't want to... A lot of people on the radio are like, well, I've got my sources, and my sources inside of the Publix have told me, and I've got the... we tell you the truth here, not like these, pathetic people that call themselves radio talk show host. But I really don't think we should be in such a position where we start segregating ourselves like this and pointing people out like that. I just don't think so. What I was talking about earlier in the show is, there's a big difference between, what? Yeah. Coronavirus? I saw it on Twitter yesterday, and then a caller, I forgot about it. No, somebody tweeted about it. A Publix worker tested positive for coronavirus. And then someone called me a little while ago and told me what city it was in, but there's a Publix every 10 feet in Florida. So then I looked up online and found an article in the Palm Beach Post that said what Publix it was. Yeah, I don't think we should be doing that. And I'll tell you another thing, too. There's a lot of anxiety going on about coronavirus. My wife and I have a friend who just relocated to Florida, not South Florida, but another part of Florida from Pennsylvania for a job. Long-planned move, and their new job starts this week, and they came down here. And when they got down here, they were sick. And they, of course, you get sick these days, a lot of people start to go into a panic. And she started to have anxiety and a panic attack. She called my wife yesterday morning and says, I've got coronavirus. And she's a registered nurse, by the way. No, she's not here in South Florida, but she's got coronavirus, she said. And she's in another part of Florida, and she's a nurse and is starting her job this week in the hospital. And so she was having a lot of anxiety because she had... Are you listening to anything I'm saying, or just being, talking to you is like talking to those, it's like Trump talking to those White House reporters. You're just waiting to be snarky. All right, let me start over again. Let me start the story over again. My wife and I have a friend who's just relocated to Florida from Pennsylvania this week. Not South Florida, another part of Florida. She's a registered nurse, a hospital nurse. She, on the way down, she got sick. Okay, she got to Florida night before last. She called my wife yesterday. She's sick. She's got like a cold or something. She says, I've got the coronavirus. She's in a panic. She's in the panic. People get a runny nose. They got a cough or anything. There's a lot of anxiety going on. They have coronavirus. So she immediately went to one of the testing centers to get a test. She's in another part of Florida. They wouldn't test her because they examined her and she didn't have the symptoms to get a coronavirus test. I don't know what they did, but whatever they didn't, so then she called up the hospital administrator where she's going to be working, and because she's going to be working in this hospital this week, the hospital administrator gave her a special letter where she could get the coronavirus test, and she tested negative. She's got nothing, okay? And other than a massive anxiety attack. And so there's a lot of I think this is happening to a lot of people. They're in an anxiety state, understandably so, especially with the news and everything that's going on. And she's an experienced registered nurse, and she was convinced she had coronavirus. And thank the Lord above, she doesn't. But I think that's happening to a lot of people. I was talking to somebody the other day. They were at a store over the weekend, and their wife coughed. And when they coughed, everybody stopped what they were doing, turned around, and started. There goes. That's why we're isolated. But everybody stopped what they were doing and stared at them like the invasion of the body snatchers was going on. So you got to be very careful in this society. In the current climate, what you do, how you react, how you treat people. And try to tone down the anxiety just a little bit, because it can get a little crazy out there. But let me play. Now, this audio clip, this is the local news in Tampa on the preacher that got arrested. This news account was done before the arrest, okay? This was before the arrest, and it was apparently a big controversy up in Tampa that he was wanting to have church services, even though, you're really not supposed to. So this is the local NBC affiliate in Tampa Bay, Florida, on the pastor. Again, this is before the arrest. And you get to hear a little bit from the pastor, and he sounds like a kook to me.
Mel, good evening. A viewer who hasn't been affiliated with the River at Tampa Bay Church for more than a decade reached out to Aid on Your Side. He says his former pastor is crossing the line by...
See, what happened was, somebody from the church reported the pastor. See, this gets into what I was talking about earlier with this thing with somebody. Yeah, I guess so. So now we're in a situation where Americans are reporting Americans. So someone from the congregation reported the pastor either to the local news or to the sheriff. I'm a little unclear. All right, let's get back to it.
Mel, good evening. A viewer who hasn't been affiliated with the River at Tampa Bay Church for more than a decade reached out to Aid on Your Side. He says his former pastor is crossing the line by allowing the large group to congregate together. Tonight, deputies say the church leaders are in direct violation of the president's guidelines, CDC recommendations, and orders from the governor and Hillsborough County. Car after car pulled into the River at Tampa Bay Church parking lot tonight. Church leaders kept their doors open for worship after Hillsborough County deputies contacted them regarding the large crowd at the Sunday morning service. Pastor Ronnie Howard Brown defended that decision in a Facebook Live post titled, End of Days, Part 3.
So I'm not...
Okay, now this, let me rewind a little bit. This voice you hear, the End of Days, Part 3, and then they cut, that's the pastor. And he's doing a show. He's got a little studio in his office. I don't know if it's at the church or at home, but listen, he sounds like a kook a little bit to me.
The large crowd at the Sunday morning service. Pastor Ronnie Howard Brown defended that decision in a Facebook Live post titled, End of Days, Part 3.
So I'm not, again, negating that people are dying from the coronavirus. We're not saying that. We're just saying that the thing is blown totally way out of proportion. And if you shut the church down, the church is not a non-essential service.
In a statement to the press from March 18th, the church posted that we'll do everything in our power to support the efforts of our wider community by cleaning and sanitizing surfaces and take any other recommended measures to protect our people and keep them healthy and safe. Here at the road leading to the church, deputies have put up this sign that says, practice social distancing, stay 6 feet apart, maximum 10 people per room. Tonight, the sheriff's office says it has advised church leaders of the danger they are putting themselves and their congregation in by not maintaining appropriate social distancing at a time when COVID-19 cases are unfortunately still on the rise in Hillsborough County.
Our outreach is to the whole world.
Vicki Walker is the Minister of Missions and Outreach at Hyde Park United Methodist. Her church is one of the many religious institutions holding prayer services online during the pandemic.
God gave us brains and we're invited to use them. And it's an act of faith and good conscience for Christians to worship together online, not in public.
And the Hillsborough County Safer at Home order and an executive order from the governor limit faith gatherings to less than 10 people. And Mel, the sheriff's office says its attorneys are talking with attorneys for that church to come up with a resolution to, quote, keep the public safe under these extraordinary conditions.
Okay, now that story was before the services happened and before the arrest. So the sheriff in Hillsborough County, where Tampa is, knew they were going to have the services and didn't stop them, and he could have stopped it. And then I got two. This is the Hillsborough County sheriff. Well, he could. Well, it's very easy. Churches on Sunday. No. The church services were Sunday. He had multiple services. 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, you send deputies over to where the church is, and you put barricades up on the streets leading to the church. You go and put deputies at the parking lot entrances, and you make it so people can't get to the church. That's all. And then the cars will drive away. It'll be a hassle, and people will be pissed. But the sheriff could have put roadblocks up there and stopped people from driving. He knew they were going to do it. So this is the sheriff after the arrest of the pastor who has bailed out. Well, see, yeah, he knew it was happening. There was a week of negotiations about how to handle it. He knew. That's right. It does. Now, here's a couple clips of the sheriff talking about arresting the pastor.
There's nothing more important than faith during a time like this. And as a sheriff's office, we would never impede someone's ability to lean on their religious beliefs as a means of comfort. But practicing those beliefs has to be done safely. Last night I made a decision to seek an arrest warrant for the pastor of a local church who intentionally and repeatedly chose to disregard the orders set in place by our president, our governor, the CDC, and the Hillsborough County Emergency Policy Group. His reckless disregard for human life put hundreds of people in his congregation at risk and thousands of residents who may interact with them this week in danger.
That's true.
Yeah, one more clip.
Since last Friday, March 27th, the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office has been in contact with leaders at the River of Tampa Bay Church. We received an anonymous tip that Pastor Dr. Ronald Howard Brown refused request to temporarily stop holding large gatherings at his church. And instead, he was encouraging his large congregation to meet at his church.
Okay, so that's the sheriff. So the sheriff knew Friday that he was going to do it and didn't take the actions that would have stopped it. So there's some responsibility by the sheriff. He had the sheriff's lawyers were talking to the church lawyers. No, he's another incompetent bureaucrat, like a lot of bureaucrats are. I think there's grandstanding maybe a little bit, but I think it's more of CYA. You know, that's the name of the church. There's rivers everywhere, I guess. I've never heard of the Tampa River. I try to stay as far away from Tampa as possible. Yeah, I hate Tampa. Tampa's a dump. Oh yeah, it's a dump. It's a dump. And that Skyway Bridge is terrible. Have you driven on the Skyway Bridge? Oh my god, the one that got hit by a ship and half the bridge. Oh my gosh, no, I hate that. The clouds cover the top of the bridge. Tampa's a dump. I hate Tampa. I try to stay away from Tampa. Yeah. I almost got killed in Tampa once. I was driving in downtown Tampa, at least back in these days. Every street was a one-way street, and a friend of mine, a group of us were in a car, and this friend of mine was one of these boy geniuses. I'm not going to say his name to embarrass him too much because he's a very prominent person. He was, at the time, the youngest person ever to graduate law school. He graduated law school at the age of 18. Law school. He graduated high school at 11. No, it's a friend of mine that I've known before you, and he graduated high school at age 11, graduated law school at the age of 18, and actually had to go to the Supreme Court to be able to take the bar because he actually graduated when he was 17. But anyway, so he's a genius, and he also is a doctor, right? He's this guy. So I'm in the back seat of the car. This guy's driving with graduates law school, 17, 18 years old. And his name's Steve, though, by the way, like you. And we're driving through downtown Tampa. It's really late at night, and these cars are coming by. They're blaring on their horns, boom, 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 and we're just going like 10 miles down this road, and cars are blinking their lights at us, and we don't know what's going on. Well, I said to him, then I say, it tells you what mind I was in. I said, Steve, I said, the signs, they're backwards on this road. I don't know what's going on. And then somebody else says, oh my gosh, we're driving the wrong way, 10 miles down this road. And the boy genius was behind the wheel, 10 miles, wrong way, cars honking, the signs are backwards, and I imagine the stoplights were too. But so I've got a thing about Tampa. But, as we'll take our break for the top of the hour, but here's the thing about this minister in Tampa that was arrested. Here's the question, and I'll throw this out to callers. Call in after the break, okay? The guy's obviously a loon, and the people that go to the church are freaks too. If the pastor was not white, if the pastor was black, if he was a rabbi or an imam, would the sheriff have arrested him Sunday night after the services? All right, it's actually 4 minutes after 8. Third hour begins right now. We'll be right back.
85.3 FM, 96.9 FM, 103.9 FM, and AM 1470. WWNN Pompano Beach is the Florida Money Talk Network.
Hi, this is George Corey of the Soul Authority. In this time of social distancing and sheltering in place, many people have been forced to neglect their feet. We at the Soul Authority are making it possible for you to still take care of your feet while remaining in your home, as we will send a doctor to your house for all of your podiatric needs. The best part of all is that Medicare pays for this visit. So, if you're a Medicare recipient, give the Soul Authority a call today at 954-597-7060. That's 954-597-7060. Don't let social distancing stop you from taking care of your feet. Call the Soul Authority today.
This is Steve Kane with a special offer from Any Lab Test Now of Coral Springs and Any Lab Test Now of Boca. For the remainder of the month of March, the basic checkup panel, which consists of the most important lab tests that are essential to your maintaining good health, are available for Steve Kane listeners for the incredibly low price, just $99, normally $129, but for the month of March, and only for Steve Kane listeners, $30 off, just $99 for Steve Kane listeners only. That is just for the month of March.
That's right, Steve. It's a huge savings. The basic checkup panel includes a CBC, which checks for conditions that affect blood cells, like anemia, infection, inflammation, bleeding disorder, and even cancer. A CMP that checks the current status of your kidneys and liver, as well as electrolyte and acid-base balance and levels of blood glucose and blood proteins. A total cholesterol
Steve Kane Show.
with triglycerides, HDL, and LDL.
Hold on.
PSA. For women, a CA125 to screen for ovarian cancer. A UA to check for metabolic and kidney disorders and for urinary tract infections. Now, this deal is just for the month of March. You get all that for just $99. It's usually $129, but just $99 for the month of March. Any Lab Test Now of Coral Springs is located on the southeast corner of University and Ramblewood, near the Coral Square Mall. Any Lab Test Now of Boca is on 441 between Palmetto and Hillsborough in the Sandalfoot Plaza, where the Western Beef is.
If you have any questions, just call 954-906-5983. That's
Steve Kane Show.
954-906-5983.
Steve Kane Show.
Tell them Steve and Brian sent you.
Hey, hold on. Okay. Barry Siegel. Barry Siegel.
You are listening to South Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show. To call the show toll free, dial 1-888-GO-KANE-1. That's 1-888-GO-KANE-1. And now, here's Steve Kane.
And we are back with you, and with us, of course, our favorite attorney, the master of elder law, and of course we're talking about none other than our good friend Barry Siegel. Barry, how are you this morning?
Good morning, Steve. I'm doing well. How are you?
Excellent.
Good to hear. Well, we are getting a lot of calls from people, much more than even normal. People have become even more and more concerned about setting up their documents, making sure they have their affairs in order. It's really gone from estate planning being something I should do, I should get
Yeah.
around to stop procrastinating, and something that they must do. So people have become a lot more serious about that, and a big part of that is also making sure that they have their healthcare documents in place so that they have their wishes known, whether they'd want to be kept alive on a machine if it ever came to that, having the people in place that they would want to make those decisions for them. Those are called living wills and healthcare surrogate designations. And we realize that there are so many healthcare workers and first responders like police and firemen and paramedics who are putting themselves out there at risk every day, helping people during this pandemic that we're experiencing. So one of the things that we want to do to thank them and give back is for those first responders and for the healthcare workers, we are going to absolutely just give them free healthcare surrogate and living wills. All they need to do is call our office, and we'll go ahead and take care of that for them. So, we want to thank all of them for what they're doing and putting themselves at risk. And it's just very important that they have these documents in place.
Bonus, I'm going to give your number. It is a toll-free number. Anybody wants to make that appointment, again, no obligation for the visit. 1-855-FLA is in Florida, 3782. Once again, 1-855-FLA, 3782. Barry, good talking to you. We'll speak to you soon, all right?
Oh, yeah. Before we go to the phones, Governor Cuomo's brother, Fredo, over there on CNN, I tell you, this guy, they're a bunch of sickos over at CNN, the Clinton News Network. I mean, they are really twisted. Got a couple clips here. This is Chris Fredo Cuomo. His brother is the governor of New York. And by the way, if you've not seen it yet, go online and look at the exchange between Chris Cuomo and Governor Cuomo about their mother. Oh my gosh, they hate these guys. They hate each other. These two brothers hate each other. But anyway, this is Chris Cuomo, Fredo, talking about who the enemy in America is right now during the coronavirus crisis. Listen to this.
Said the enemy is death. The enemy is not death. The enemy is disinformation, inaction, lies, division. These are all the things this virus is testing in our society as much as it's testing our bodies.
Okay, so the enemy is Donald Trump is what he's saying, because there's a discussion on CNN as to whether or not they should carry his press conferences filled with lies. They cut away when Mike Lindell got up and started talking about the Bible scene, and Wolf Blitzer got up on that little... Wolf Blitzer got up on his little step stool and cut away really quick, Billy Barty over there. But so Fredo here says the enemy is not death, it's not the virus, it's Trump, which is really twisted. Now, and then Don Lemon, this is Don Lemon, he's talking to Fredo about the whether or not they should carry on CNN Trump's press conferences. Now, keep in mind, I know a lot of Democrats may have forgotten about this, but Donald Trump is no longer the host of The Apprentice. He is the sitting president of the United States. And when President Trump speaks, he is very well briefed by everyone, and pretty much every decision he's made here lately has been what all the medical professionals have recommended, okay? But anyway, this is Don Lemon, and this is after the press conference on Sunday with those snarky reporters, okay?
And I have said, I don't think that you should really listen to what he says. You should listen to what the experts say. I'm not actually sure, if you want to be honest, that we should carry that live. I think we should run snippets. I think we should do it afterwards and get the pertinent points to the American people.
We could have tapes of you run and have no one watch.
Are going to tell you the truth. And guess what he's going to do? If you ask a question that is a legitimate question, and if he doesn't like the question, he's going to say, whether you're being mean or not, or whatever he wants to call it, he's going to say, that is a mean, nasty question. Why? Because he wants his base to think that the media is being mean to him and they're attacking him. It is all a plot. It is all orchestrated. And if you can't see it, I don't know.
Did he say Jewish plot? It sounded like he was thinking it. Hold on, let me see.
All a plot.
Oh, just a plot.
Orchestrated. And if you can't see it, I don't know. I don't know what you're looking at. So, you know, it's obvious. It's transparent to me. This has become, those press briefings have become his new apprentice. They've become his new rallies. And he treats the press and the media as if he's talking to the people in his rallies.
Okay, now here's the thing. I was talking about this earlier. In a way, but he's, you know, but the
He means it in a deprecating way, but
yeah.
it's not deprecating. It's how people are getting educated by hearing the truth.
Yeah.
I'm listening to, who's the guy on CNN?
Fredo? Oh, Don Lemon. Yeah, who likes to get drunk on CNN every New Year's Eve for the last several years. But the thing about, and talk about his love life, the thing about the press conferences, every day he has experts. He had the head of the FDA there yesterday. He had Dr. Burke and Fauci there. And yeah, and anytime a reporter gets up and says, I have a question for the doctor, one of the doctors, or he always, come on up, you know, and he tosses it over to them each and every time. So, you know,
Trump proceeds to wipe the floor.
with the media, what I was talking about this earlier in the show. The media say he needs to defer leadership of America to the doctors and scientists, you know. If the problem that's going on in the press briefings is that these are not medical reporters, they are political reporters, and everything is from a political angle. Like one of the reporters on Sunday said, why is Florida getting everything they want, but New York isn't? Which isn't true, but what they're trying to imply is that states that vote Trump get everything, and those that don't get equipment, which is absurd, but that's what that question implies. And you've heard other exchanges. The press should change out their political reporters and bring in their medical correspondents. Every network has medical correspondents that are journalists with medical degrees, like Sanjay Gupta. They're every NBC, Fox News has about 5 of them. CNN has several. So does NBC. They all have medical journalists that are medical doctors that are also journalists, and those should be the ones in the press conferences if you want to rely on doctors and scientists, all the media, instead of having that the chubby girl from public television, you know, and yeah.
Trump and his people get up there, all the points scored are scored by Trump, and they're looking for some get even.
Well, this is not a time to be scoring points. Yeah. All right, let's see here. Conservative Doug.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning. You know,
Good morning, Doug.
Lemon, who the hell wants to listen to that guy? I mean, all they do is complain, and they can't stand that Trump is being in front of the public, and this is what they're going to try to pull.
Not only is he in front of the public all the time, he's going to be coming off as the hero in this thing. Now, again, we have to see what the end game is. I mean, there is a scenario by which it could backfire. We're not pressing him. We don't know for a fact how it's going to end. But right now, up to this point, I would say he's...
Well, I'll give you an example of something from the press conference yesterday, which was absolutely amazing. And it was really the main purpose of the press conference yesterday. A couple weeks ago, when there was a mask shortage, President Trump said, is there a way to sterilize the masks and reuse them? And the media not only attacked him for it, they laughed. Oh, you can't, he's talking. And look what happened. This company, and the president showed the toaster-like machine, they developed and designed a new product that they're mass producing to sterilize the masks. That can be sterilized how many times? Dozens of times. Donald Trump just calls an invention. You know, I mean, it's like Thomas Edison up there. And no one took notice of that because they didn't want to point out that there's been this incredible medical innovation because of Donald Trump, this device to sterilize masks so that they can be reused to deal with the shortage. Another thing is, I watched Fredo's brother, Governor Cuomo, yesterday, who was taking issue with President Trump asking where these things are going out the back door of the hospital. And I know they keep saying President Cuomo, and if they say it enough, it'll make it come true. Donald Trump was born and raised in New York. He made his business in New York. He knows how New York operates. So when Donald Trump is saying things are going out the back door, he knows what goes on in New York. He's an expert. There's no one more of a New Yorker than him, okay? You can't get more of a New Yorker than him, okay? And he knows exactly what he's talking about. He knows how things operate in New York like they operate in Puerto Rico. Remember, we have nothing, and then all the officials were hoarding everything like Governor Cuomo down there? Exactly. All right, Doug. We got to run for a break. Yeah.
certainly think that you shouldn't tell anybody.
No, I agree. I don't. I almost when I looked it up, because I almost said which Publix it was, and then I saw where it was, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. The information's out there if people want to use it, but it is true. It's in one of the local newspapers, Palm Beach Post. It's been reported. Yeah, it's reported in the newspaper. Which Publix? They said what Publix the guy worked at. Publix was their verification. They confirmed with Publix everything, and that they disinfected the store and the facilities and everything else. Yeah, so it's confirmed. But I if you want to know, you look it up. Well, I don't want to get in the business of start putting stars on people's chest, okay? Because that's basically what you're doing in a certain kind of way. All right, listen, we'll take our break, and we will be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Hi, this is George Corey of the Soul Authority. In this time of social distancing and sheltering in
Steve
place,
Kane Show.
many people have been forced to neglect their feet. We at the Soul Authority are
Hey,
making it possible for you to still take care of your feet while remaining in your home, as we will send a doctor to your house for all of your podiatric needs. The best part of all is that Medicare pays for this visit. So, if you're a Medicare recipient, give the Soul Authority a call today at 954-597-7060. That's 954-597-7060. Don't let social distancing stop you from taking care of your feet. Call the Soul Authority today.
Dr. Matez, we talk about charisma. Hormone replacement pellet therapy brings back a lot of things in people. And one of the things I think it brings back is charisma, because I've met many listeners that are patients of Dr. Matez that I've met before they were patients of Dr. Matez. And I notice a big difference. And one thing I notice is a lot of confidence in guys after they start hormone replacement pellet therapy.
I agree with you 100%, bro.
Yeah,
Get your mojo back. It's really
It
what it is.
changes your life. It changes the way you view the world. But you know how I put it once? This was years and years ago. Looking at the world after having the hormone therapy, and you look at the world, and the world is like a technicolor. And when you give up the hormone therapy,
What?
it's like watching Alex. I can look at this amazing difference. Like
That's a
smaller,
fantastic analogy.
isn't it?
It is.
And it's true. That's how. That's a big difference.
It is. As we get older, we both physically and mentally break down, and we tend to get into a very black and white type of existence, a lot of people. Everybody's different. But when you get your hormone levels back and you get that vigor back, you feel good. Suddenly things are very bright and colorful.
And I experience this myself, and I see it on listeners, is I'll see a guy, and he's like, and then I'll see him after he has become a patient of yours, and
It's true. It's true.
therapy. He seems like he's standing up strong, confident, 10 feet tall. What is it about hormone replacement pellet therapy that does that to guys?
I believe it's because you're taking your
She hasn't.
God's nectar back into the
She hasn't yet.
Basically, God gave us testosterone in particular to give us energy and strength and endurance and muscle mass. It's what makes not just men, it's what makes people. And a lack of it takes all of those things away from you.
We'll meet with Steve Kane listeners at no charge.
Always.
What is the number they can call to make that appointment?
561-953-5490. 561-953-5490.
Listen to the Steve Kane Show on
Oh, Steve, now, this is not new. I know it seems new to all of you because we haven't talked about this much. We've mentioned it here and there over the years, but we haven't talked about it and certainly not done a commercial about it. The Soul Authority offering house calls. And this is something, the Soul Authority has always done this. No matter where you are listening to us on the radio, if you are within the listening range of our radio stations, they will do house calls for you. Well, anyone, but at Medicare, if you're a Medicare recipient, Medicare pays for the house call from the doctor. She'll come out to your house, no matter where you are within the listening range of our radio stations. You are within the area that the Soul Authority will do house calls. They have always done this. Always done this. We've just not talked about it so much. But because of the current situation, we're talking about it a little bit more. And the doctor, she comes to your house, does everything. Now, this also goes and this goes for new patients as well as existing patients, okay? New and existing. So if you're an existing patient of the Soul Authority and you go in for your regular whatever involving podiatry, the doctor, she will come to your house and see you and treat you.
There's another aspect to this. You pointed out,
Yeah.
on this famous banned list that's
Yeah.
Broward County, they're supposed to close the barber shops and the manicurists. They're not supposed to.
Nail salons.
Nail salons are closed, but a visit to your podiatrist is not banned. It's still good under the.
Well, in fact, you know, because I know a lot of ladies out there, and guys too, you can't get into the nail salon because, you know, guys get their things done too, their nails. You actually, having your nails trimmed is part of podiatry and is covered by Medicare. So if you, what do you think? I'm Howard Hughes, Steve, and going for a, yes, I've had my nails trimmed. I mean, yes, they're not 10 feet long, curled up and things like this, like the Guinness Book guy. Yes, I have. Oh my goodness, have I ever had my nails trimmed? If I didn't have my nails trimmed, you would know. They'd be curled, they'd be up to the ceiling, and you would know. They'd be all curled. Have you seen that guy in the Guinness Book? Well, listen, I'm going to give you the number for the Tamarack location of the Soul Authority. But listen, this goes for both new and existing patients. For everything they do with the Soul Authority, it can be nail trimming, whatever else you do podiatry care-wise. It can even be for the therapeutic diabetic shoes. Whatever they do with the Soul Authority, they will do on house calls, and it is completely covered by Medicare. Here's the number, 954. Yeah, okay. All right. 954-721-3411. And that number listed at stevekaneshow.com. All right, we got a caller here from Tallahassee, the town that Andrew Gillum once was mayor of. Oh, my goodness. You're on the air.
Brian, hey Steve, how's it going?
Good.
Been listening to you guys since frickin' Subs went off the air in 2000.
Oh my Lord, you go way back.
To tell you how important this is. I want to confirm, Brian, what you were talking about that Rodney Howard-Brown guy and pastor in Tampa getting a nut job. He's definitely that.
Yeah.
He actually goes way back in the 90s. His kind of moniker is the Holy Ghost bartender. He started something called Holy Laughter, where he was like getting people like fall out of their seats and stuff, you know, claiming that it was the anointing of the Holy Spirit on them.
Oh.
Kind of in his shtick for 30 years.
A lot of them do that.
A lot of con men do that, yeah.
They put their hand on the forehead and they go, Lord, heal this man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that and more. He also, for like the past 15 or 20 years, he claims that he's now an apostle. Like an apostle.
He must have saw the movie with Robert Duvall, and then he changed his act up a little bit.
Well, I was going to say earlier, I never didn't get it out, but I'm sure this guy has a history of bizarreness, because I don't want to say he's a con man, but
We don't. Yeah.
it appears that way.
Yeah. Yeah. So you haven't called since. So Rick and Suds went off the air 20 years ago. That's a long time.
Rick and Suds are alive.
Yeah, they're alive. I'll tell you.
And you and I are the same age. I went to school in Broward too, and I used to listen to Steve back in '88 and '89 during my senior year. Although I didn't know
boy.
Yeah.
who he was, but
Wow.
Way back. Well, thanks for.
Where'd you go to high school? In Broward. Where? The what school? The fag school. I don't remember that. What school was that? Oh, yes, that's right. Yes, the fag school. Yeah, I think I've heard that before. Not from my lips, but I didn't call it that. But yeah, I do remember hearing that before. Well, no, I used to listen to Steve when I was a senior in high school too, because I know. No. But you were on an afternoon drive then, and we got out of school at 2:35. And well, that what happened was this is a true story, as crazy as it is. My first car, my grandmother bought me my first car, and I was very upset. We had a typical teenager. I'm very upset she gave me a car, right? Because it had an AM radio in it. It didn't have FM in it. It only had AM, and that's how I found Steve Kane Show. So I guess she changed my life, Grandma, with that AM radio. But yeah. All right, take care. Thanks for don't wait another 20 years or a long time. Steve in Tallahassee, where Andrew Gillum was once mayor. Oh my goodness. Could you imagine if he would have won that election? This guy found with him. We would have a guy that was found naked in a hotel room with an Odine gay male prostitute as our governor. Not. Really? During the coronavirus crisis? I don't think we'd want to deal with it right now. Things in Florida are going... Things are going very well in Florida because we have a competent governor. If Andrew Gillum was the governor, God help us, it'd be like New York. Because if you think... He's hiding in rehab. No, he went... No, he was not charged with anything. He went to rehab to overcome his alcohol addiction. Well, he wasn't caught having... He was naked on the floor, and the prostitute was in a bed. Odin. Yeah, right. Well, I don't know. It's that could have been our governor. Just 33,000 votes. They were calling him the next Obama. The next Obama. That election. And, you know, the thing about Andrew Gillum, and we laugh, but, you know, things are going very well in Florida because we have a competent governor, you know. And if you look at the map of the country, where things are going well, Republicans are running things. Where things are in chaos, Democrats are running things. Now, maybe it's a coincidence.
It's not a coincidence, and it's not fair to say that because the areas of government where the Democrats are in control are
The cities? No, listen, the governor...
That's where the problems are.
The,
in cities.
the,
You can't blame that in and of itself.
no, there's something to be said, though. The governor of New York, Fredo's brother, okay, he did something that he said was a mistake. And he ordered people to stay locked in their high-rises with thousands upon thousands of people in these tiny little buildings. And that was probably a mistake, he said. And it probably was. And I'll tell you this. Oh, yeah. Hannah Montana said that. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has those days. It's a Hannah Montana lyric. But yesterday, did you see what happened in New York when the medical ship arrived? Well, they're supposed to be doing social distancing, and it looked like thousands of New Yorkers on top of each other. It was like the church in Tampa, except more people on top of each other greeting the ship. It was very bad. It was very bad what they did. It didn't look like anybody was stopping anything. All right, we got to run. We got to take a break. If you saw it, it was pretty brutal. It would not be me. All right.
There, but for the grace of the Lord, let's take a short break. We'll be back.
Corey of the Soul Authority. In this time of social distancing and sheltering in place, many people have been forced to neglect their feet. We at the Soul Authority are making it possible for you to still take care of your feet while remaining in your home, as we will send a doctor to your house for pediatric needs. The best part of all.
I don't know what you're. I don't know what you're saying.
For this visit. So, if
Hey
you're
there.
a Medicare recipient, give the Soul Authority a call today.
No, we got a Richard Pearl now. We got Richard Pearl. We got to do it later. We'll do it after the gold report.
Don't let social distancing stop you from taking care of your feet. Call the Soul Authority today.
After the gold report.
Tires. Go easy on your budget and buy your tires at Friendly Tire.
Yeah, well, I'll take the gold report. I'll get it. We'll do it.
And Firestone at discount prices that absolutely.
I've already done it twice. We got Richard Pearl now. We can't do it now.
At the other shops, $175 a tire. At Friendly
If we do that, by the time we're done, it'll be time for the gold report. We gotta. I'll get it in.
Emily's car, $135 at the shops around town. The price at Friendly Tire, only $65. That's a $70 savings per tire. These prices are out the door and on the road. Free mounting and balancing and no added charges. Friendly Tire have a great selection of good used tires too.
It's right where the lab is.
For most cars. Call my good buddy Friendly Mike at Friendly Tire. Tell him what you drive and he will give you a great low price right over the phone at 954-977-9445. 954-977-9445. Online, friendlytire.net.
The Steve Kane Show is brought to you by attorney Barry Siegel at the Siegel Library. Avoid probate with a revocable living trust. $350 for single people, $450 for married couples. When you complete your trust with attorney Barry Siegel, he will give you a $100 gift certificate to Tavolino Italian Restaurant in Coral Springs. Call the downtown Miami. 1-855-FLA-3782.
Listen to the Steve Kane Show.
All right, Richard Pearl.
And here he is, the man who keeps me healthy, Richard Pearl. Richard, how are you doing today?
Doing well. I'm glad the month is ending. It's a weird statement to make, but I want to start a new month fresh, even though things are a little bit crazy, obviously. I want to cover a couple things. First off, I got elderberry in. I got elderberry syrup. The first time we've had any in about 2 weeks plus. We have it mostly in the children's size, which makes no difference. You just drink double the amount you have the adult dose. But I have it. I have a lot of other things that will be helpful to boost your immune system. It's simply natural. Now, to cover a couple things quick, none of what we're doing is rational as far as the country goes. We have shut down 3/4 of the country instead of isolating people like we would have done with tuberculosis in the day. Back in a different era, we would have used sound judgment. We wouldn't have killed the baby so that we could save the bathwater, because that's all we're doing. They're telling people to test, but once you get the test, you're still in the situation of either having something or not having something. If you have something, what they're telling you to do is stay home and isolate. Well, why not? If the logic is to isolate, then you might as well, you don't need testing, just isolate, right? Because even if you don't have it, you're going to run into somebody who does. So the whole logic is nonsensical. Other people are told you can go to work because you're essential. For instance, I'm essential, so I work. So do the people in the grocery store. So do the people in
Steve Kane Show.
their mail.
Steve Kane Show.
Work for the oil industry. You
Hey,
name
don't.
the industry that is considered essential. Those people have families, and they have to go home to their families. They're told to work. So this whole idea of isolation makes no sense. And what they're doing, again, I use the word a lot, they're hyperventilating. This could be this amount dead, and this could be that much, but it isn't happening, folks. If and they're telling you the cure to everything here is drug therapy in the future, or wash your hands and keep a distance. Well, you can wash your hands and keep a distance. That's helpful, but you could also take supplements to boost your immunity. You've got total fraud coming from the World Health Organization. The guy who's in charge of it is completely in the tank for China. The appointed Director General, Tedros Adhanom, is Ethiopian, and Ethiopia has a huge relationship with China. Nobody talks about this. China and Ethiopia are directly connected at the hip. And so a lot of the financial and political things that China and they do are being protected by the head of the World Health Organization. So he's not going to say anything bad. They praise China constantly for what they've done. They praise them as fast they said China said that the virus could be spread person to person, but they knew that was false, and they praised them anyway. They praised them for transparency. The assistant director to the World Health Organization, Dr. Alward, also is one who's he won't even recognize Taiwan when he was asked questions about it. Hung up on the interviewer, and these are the people that we're trusting. Dr. Fauci, the guy that Trump puts way too much trust in, only has kind words to say about the director of the World Health Organization. That alone should tell you all of this. You've got an 80-year-old man who now has power over the president. Fauci thinks now that he can control and decide everything, and whatever he says is godlike. He walks on special waters.
Richard,
People are
let
buying
me
into
ask you a
this,
question.
and the media's bought into it hook, line, and sinker. Not a single one of them is asking, why don't we take supplements? They're not putting on anybody in the nutrition industry to say, why not do this?
We are. We're putting you on, and I want to ask you a question. I've been sensing for a while there's a conflict between this World Health Organization and our president. Is there any? What's Trump's? Where does he fit into
I don't know.
this?
He's not condemning them fully. We should back out of the World Health. It's an appointed person in charge every 5 years. It's a totally fraudulent organization at this point. It's certainly corrupt. We should pull out, start our own. We don't need, you can be poor by yourself, you can be miserable by yourself, and you can be corrupt by yourself. You don't need help. We don't need to support an organization that is so fraudulent that looks only to cover China's butt, no matter what. And again, his home country is at the hip. They're joined at the hip with China. So
We're trusting people who have like the most idiotic policies, including Dr. Fauci. And if the whole thing is wash your hands and keep a distance, and some people shouldn't be out on the road, but other people who are essential, they need to put themselves at risk, but not the other part of the population. It's stupid. It's also stupid to isolate healthy people, run down the country to 32% unemployment, which is what they're predicting. True or untrue, who knows? But they want to destroy the country so that some people that could be isolated or certainly just kept in the room in the house, and every time you went into the room, you washed your hands. You know, those are the people who need to be tested. Testing everybody for the sake of testing. So now you find out you've been exposed. Big effing deal. Who cares?
Well,
You've been exposed. I promise you, we've all been exposed. It means nothing. Build your immunity.
If they want to continue this conversation, I'm sure if they dropped by Simply Natural, you'd be more than happy to take it to the next level. You tell them where to find you.
Okay, so obviously I'm a very calm individual.
Very. I can
Very.
vouch for that.
And I have no passion.
Exactly.
That's obvious too. But if you want to reach me, you can call me at 954-741-4045. You can also come to the store. We're open. I'll be in early. We open at 11, but I'll be in early. I am an essential business. I'm not in the least bit scared, not a 0%. You can come see us. We're on the northeast corner of Sunset Strip and University Drive. It's called Simply Natural. Again, the number 954-741-4045. Steve, you and Brian are doing such a service to the community, making things exposed, having conversations. So many people come to me from your place, from listening to you. They really love what you guys are doing. You're a sane part of this craziness, and I appreciate what you guys are doing.
Well, we do what we can.
That's right.
Richard, when you say you're going to be in early, what time is early?
Today I'm going to be in probably 10 o'clock.
Oh, that is early.
All right, my friend. Maybe see you later today. All right? You take care.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's take some calls. What the? All right, good morning. You're on the radio.
Hi, good morning, it's Doris.
Oh.
Doris?
Is Steve still there?
Yeah, I'm still here, Doris. How are you doing, dear?
Oh, fine, thank you. I just celebrated 90-year birthday on Saturday the 21st, and I was flat on my back, half dead, until I have a daughter who went out and got me a Z-Pack combo, and came home, gave me one, and within hours I was dancing around the house.
The Z-Pack, something goes with this. There's a drug that goes with
No, she didn't take the coronavirus drug. She just wasn't feeling well. She didn't have you didn't have coronavirus. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, exactly.
And I want to ask you an important question. Since you're a lady of letters when it comes to understanding matters of the Lord, what do you think about this pastor holding meetings even
Had church services on Sunday.
in the midst of all this plague?
Well, I'm going to say hallelujah more. God bless him, and let's have more pastors stand up. And I'd like to urge people...
Well, no, hold on a second. Maybe you didn't hear. He's having full church services with packed houses this past Sunday. And he was arrested.
After the notice is put out that people should not get closer than 6 feet.
Yeah, and he's been arrested. He's bailed out, but he was arrested for having church services.
Exposed hundreds and hundreds of people to the virus.
Possibly.
Well, I think that the sheriff is the one that should be accused of trying to get the publicity. Although, listen, I heard what the pharmacist said just before I got on.
Right.
And what he's talking about is a conspiracy. And I'm a conspiracy nut.
Oh.
And I think there's...
Yeah. Another Trish Regan.
You wear that label proudly, obviously.
Can you tell me how many times, last Friday Brian, you saved my life when the first thing you came on in the morning is you started to talk about the test for testing this Z-Pack combination. They were supposed to have started. Do you know how many people have died since they were told by many?
Well, no, I do know. I have talked to doctors in more than one state, that people that are hospitalized are getting that treatment. In fact, the FDA approved Sunday night special approval for it again for that purpose. The people that are in the hospitals are being treated with these new treatments. I just don't think they have enough to give to everybody. But they're treating the people in the hospitals. Trump said on Sunday they started giving it to 1,100 in New York 2 days before that. So we're 3 or 4 days into that. And I think they're doing an organized, quick, but they're doing an organized medical study in New York on these 1,100 patients. Yeah. No.
He had 1 million people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. If the treatment worked, if the Trump pills, if the Trump pills worked, because that's what we're going to start calling them, Trump pills, the malaria drug and the Z-Pack, the Trump pills, I think, is what we should start calling. Yeah, the Trump pack. The Trump pills, I think, is better. But Steve wants to make my thing his thing. He's going to call it Trump pack. But that's okay. That's okay. But if this malaria drug and the Z-Pack, the Trump pills work, okay, that would change everything. And I find it a little troubling that we're getting little to no news on it. In fact, yesterday, not one reporter asked about it. And the FDA commissioner was there. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, Doris, keep up the good work and pray for us all, right?
All right, take care. Yeah, for listeners that aren't longtime listeners, we call Doris the tent lady, and she's a 90-year-old Catholic lady. Many years ago, at our other radio station, she pitched a tent in our parking lot and lived in a tent in our parking lot for a week, praying for everybody at the radio station. And there was one guy, yeah. No, she did. She lived for a week in our parking lot in a tent, and one of our, a guy who was a friend of mine who has since passed away, he was your friend too, Jim Michaels. Jim Michaels was a great guy, and he hated her, and he hated her because she was Christian, and he used to bring to work, he's a great guy, I love this guy. He passed away a few years ago, and he brought his little dog to work. He had one of those little dogs, I don't know if it was a poodle, it was one of those little poodle-like dogs he brought to work every day, and he would walk his dog outside in the parking lot to go to the bathroom every day, a few times a day, and he would take the dog over by her tent so it would go near her tent. And then he would laugh while he was doing it. He laughed while he was doing it. You thought Jim was a nice guy? Yeah, I do. He didn't know what he was doing. And he passed away a few years ago, and now he's hopefully in the good place. The good place. But I'll never forget, that was just crazy. But Doris, yeah, that's Doris.
Push that memory lane. Let's take a break. We'll be back with the Gold Report after this. We are chatting today with Frank, the owner of 2 magnificent Ace Hardware stores. One, Deerfield Beach, 360 South.
After the Gold Report, we'll do the whole end of the thing on it. Just wait. I'm telling you. I did it twice. We can't give out the location and everything in time. Hey there. Hold on. We need a little more time. All right.
The sea. How many years have you owned this business?
I've been in the hardware business for over 40 years, Steve.
If I have a home project that I'm doing, there are so many around the house, that's the big thing today. What's the difference of my experience if I go to Ace Hardware as opposed to these major impersonal chain stores?
Oh, there's a huge difference. The basic difference is customer service. We're an old-time fashion hardware store. We have experienced people that are working our stores. Our employees are are just top notch. They're very experienced. They know their business. When you're doing a project, you can come into the store and you can get somebody that knows what they're doing, somebody that will like to work with you, to find you the right project, the right pieces, the first time, so you can get in and out with the right materials.
There are lots of Ace Hardware stores, but there are only 2 that are
I can't hear
advertising
you.
with the Steve Kane Show. We're talking about the location, a quarter of a mile south of Hillsborough Boulevard,
We're coming back.
on the west side of Federal, and of course the
Youngerman.
Beach Ace Hardware, located at 232 Commercial Boulevard, a half block west of A1A in Lauderdale by the Sea. Very, very special locations. Be sure to mention Steve Kane sent you.
Listen to the Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio. Just search for WWNN.
Well, those of you that are on this wild ride with the precious metals that we've been having here on the Steve Kane Show since, I don't know, what did we say, 16 years ago? That's when William Youngerman first became a sponsor of the show. He's one of the world's leading experts when it comes to matters of the precious metals. There's no one I know that knows more than William does. And boy, what a ride we've been on lately with the financial markets in kind of a chaotic state. But the one thing that stays constant is that gold and precious metals. William, how's it today?
Good, Steve. How you doing?
Very excellent.
Good. Well, the precious metals are holding very firm, although we have dipped to a little bit below what we call support levels. They popped right back up over those numbers. Yesterday we had gold close down $4.60 at $1,623.40. It had been higher and lower during the day. Silver closed out today down 42 cents at $14 the ounce. Platinum was down $17 at $7.27, and palladium was up $54 at $2,219. The strength of the U.S. dollar and $20 barrel oil price has put a lot of pressure on the metals, but despite that pressure, we are seeing good support and relatively very strong numbers for the precious metals, especially for gold, of course. And that being said, gold got dipped below $1,600 earlier this morning, but has come back to right now at $1,610 the ounce. That's down $13.40. The dollar, as I said, very, very strong. Dollar index getting up almost to 100 again. And oil just around $20, $21 a barrel. The stock market poised to open right now about 200 points.
It is
lower,
WKRP stuff.
After being up yesterday.
Crazy.
Silver,
Like the turkey. I got that
5
wrong.
cents right now at $14.05 the ounce. Platinum up $1 at $7.28. And palladium up $11.
I know, it was crazy. Yeah, it is
$130.
WKRP
So
stuff.
right now, gold $1,610, good support around that $1,600 number, and anything close to $1,600.
That's pretty funny.
A great buying opportunity right now.
Well, there you have it from a man who knows.
It's
William
true.
Youngerman, stop by anytime today. It's by appointment. Tell him what your setup is today.
Yeah, give us a call first and lock in an appointment. We're trying to space our clients, and of course, you know, our offices are very secure with a wall of glass separating everybody, so it makes it very secure. And regardless of that, come give us a call and let us know what you're interested in doing. We'll try to serve all our clients as best we can.
William, you're the best. You guys up there, and they believe me, folks, they do take really good care of Steve Kane listeners. Just tell them you listen to the Steve Kane Show, and you're going to get the A+ treatment. William Youngerman. Now I'll give you the address: 150 East Palmetto Park Road in Boca. That's the Bank America building on the first floor, directly across from the bank. You can call William from anywhere in the world at 1-800-327-5010. And of course, that magnificent website that's like a virtual gallery. Check that out at WilliamYoungerman.com. William, have a great day, and we'll speak to you tomorrow.
Okay, you too now.
Oh yeah, somebody in the chat room was talking about the Doris living in the tent in our part. They said that's like a WKRP story, and it is. It is. I've got more. That was I don't want to remember all of them though. Oh yeah, I just want to tell everybody though. All of the Steve Kane Show sponsors are essential businesses that are open for business, and all of them. In some instances, like Attorney Barry Siegel is doing a lot of remote work and things like that. We're doing house calls with the Soul Authority, but the Soul Authority is still open up for in-office appointments as well. But the house calls is something we're talking about now.
This new thing, and it is going to be new.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about this.
Yeah.
There is a culture changing.
No, you can't clear your throat these days.
Change coming up in the restaurant business.
Yeah.
And this whole thing that I've gotten used to. I mean, I go out and get my dinner to go at night and take it home. That's going to be the thing when we get back. And boy, there is no better
Yeah.
place to get your dinner than
Now, let me tell you, because this is, that's true.
hamburgers that are just melt in your mouth. I stopped
Oh, yeah.
at the end of the day for lunch.
Spectacular.
Great. Homemade soups, homemade salads, the best food you've ever had.
In fact, nothing in Wings Plus. Yeah, none of the things you get at Wings Plus, like the clam chowder, it's all homemade. Nothing out of a can at Wings Plus. But this is very important, okay? The Sample Road location is being renovated, long ago planned, and they're just taking this time as to really get it done. Brian at Wings Plus has 2 locations. We just usually focus in on the Sample Road location. There's a second location also in Coral Springs, the Ramblewood location. I have the address and phone number listed at stevekaneshow.com. They are doing takeout for lunch and dinner. My mother-in-law went over there yesterday for lunch. It's over by the Coral Springs Mall, the Coral Square Mall. I'm going to give you the address and the phone number, but if you miss it, it is at stevekaneshow.com. And I got to tell you something. Wings Plus, when we did our Bye Bye Bama Bash, that was when we had a celebration over there the day Trump was inaugurated. It started, the first half was the Bye Bye Bama Bash, and then Welcome President Trump was the second half. And we had a full house over there, and a friend of mine came. Yeah. Oh, you think? It's like, yeah. Yeah, so a friend of mine came to our Bye Bye Bama Bash at Wings Plus, somebody I've known since I was 16 years old. Hadn't seen him in many years. And, we were having our wings, and he says, I have never been in a restaurant that was so upfront about their conservatism as Wings Plus. And there is no doubt about that. I mean, so listen, the Ramblewood location, they're open for takeout, and it's Brian's location too. You'll probably see him there, and it's all the same great food at the Sample Road location. So let me give you the address and the phone number. If you miss it, it's at stevekaneshow.com. The address is 1235 North University Drive in Coral Springs. And the number, if you want to order ahead, 954-757-4950, 954-757-4950, listed at stevekaneshow.com right at the top. That's right. And yeah, that's true. And again, all of the Steve Kane sponsors are open and ready for business. Ace Hardware, that I'm going to go over to the Deerfield Beach location probably over the weekend because I'm painting my house, and I'm painting my house. I painted my house before. I do all kinds of stuff, Steve. I do, yeah. I was pressure cleaning my sidewalk. I was on the phone with you. You said, "Why are you doing that?" I was like, "Well, who else is going to do it?" But now, why pay somebody to do what I can do myself? Oh, okay. Well, is that your excuse? I didn't know you were a Jew. I heard a rumor you were a Jew. Someone once told me that. But no, I'm going to paint my house. The only thing that's the holdup is we're deciding on the color. But I'm going to go over to Ace Hardware, the Deerfield Beach location, for the house paints, all the materials, and some tips from the guys over there on how to make it a little easier because my house isn't smooth. It's got one of these rough finishes. Yeah, I need help because my house has one of these rough finishes on it, so I got to know how to do that easier. Mm-hmm. No, I don't want. I'm gonna do it myself. I like doing it. The last time I painted my house was about 12 years ago, 10 or 12 years ago, and it needs really painted bad now. But after I painted my house last time, people in the neighborhood started painting their houses the same color I painted mine. So I'm like the paint color trend setter. It was a shade of brownish or tan. I can't remember. I don't know. I don't pay. But it was everybody else everybody else in that neighborhood painted their house the same color as mine after. So I'm gonna paint my house this week. No, it's okay. Whatever. But I'm gonna go to Ace Hardware and get all the materials, and I need to find out an easier way to paint on the rough surface outside the house because last time it was tough. No, you don't just use a regular roller for that when it's rough. They'll know. Well, I'm going to find out when I go over there. But all of our sponsors are open, including Friendly Tire still open, and and Soul Authority doing house calls. I just want to be clear about this. The Soul Authority, their 2 locations are still open if you want to go there in person. But house calls is something they have always offered. We've just never talked about it so much. So we're telling people about that now. And the house calls, no matter what you need done podiatry-wise, the doctor, she will come to you if you're within the range of our radio station. Medicare does cover it. So all of our sponsors are well open for business, and we're out of time. It's 9 o'clock.
We appreciate you folks. We will be back to prove it once again tomorrow, 6 a.m. Till then, on behalf of Brian, I'm Steve. May God bless America.
95.3 FM, 96.9 FM, 103.9 FM, and AM 1470. WWNN Pompano Beach is the Florida Money Talk Network.
All right, guys, take care. Make sure you subscribe, all right? Talk to you later.